Crossover. Oh, killer crossover.
Just crossover. You just crossed him over. Danced him.
Another victim to the crossovers. Cross him up and sit him down.
All right, the crossover is brought to you by, man, the microphone over here sounds better. The crossover is powered by Everlittle Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlittleconcrete.com.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, why is this microphone better than that microphone where most of us sit?
I don't know. Maybe we need a new studio.
Ooh,
Josh?
a palatial one?
A palatial studio somewhere.
If only there were rooms in this building that didn't have people in
Where would we find one?
Who's to
I don't
say?
know. Remember back in the day when this company used to be right downtown on the street?
Not really, but
Over the corner store.
The studio, I think it was K-Car, had the studio that looked right into the street, and people could walk by.
Man.
Now I think it's I think the Convention and Visitors Bureau are in that building, but they had the spaceship set that Sweet 98 and Rocket had.
Man.
You okay over there?
Yeah. Well, I got an email. I got an email from Charles.
I got the same email.
So speaking of our, our location in town and the things that we get to see just by looking out the window, Charles emails into the Equitable Bank inbox. He says, "Hey guys, spotted your guy Lester almost get taken out by a bus on Saddle Creek this morning. He had his lasso. He should probably stick to the fire hydrants."
Well, he's made progress getting over to Saddle Creek.
Yeah, he's moving.
Well,
he's on the move.
So we have another friend that frequents our neighborhood. About an hour ago, tried to stop traffic on Dodge.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Hello.
He was playing Frogger. At least everybody stopped.
Did he win?
He did win, but he was crossing the street and then decided just to stop and stand in the middle of Dodge Street during rush hour.
Beautiful view.
Attaboy.
But you know what? It's Friday nights, and so no one hit the gas, and our guy made it to the other side of the street. And I don't know where he's at now.
That's a great preamble to our game today, our situation today. I can feel it. I can feel it in the air. There's something different. It's a game day on a Friday. This is going to be fun tonight. I think it'll be a very interesting atmosphere.
So I have gotten pictures from listeners of cars that are lined up to get into the parking lots at 11.
They don't open till 11. Yeah.
The weather is warm. You've taken off work. Students aren't going to school. They're going to be out and about.
Omaha Scanner is going to be popping tonight. Get it rolling, Omaha Scanner. See
first,
right now.
First road game for Illinois. It's going to be at night. It's Bielema.
Yeah. It's Bielema. The people always show up for Bielema. Wonder what color he'll be wearing tonight. His bright orange.
All orange, or will he go with the blue?
I like
all
the blue. I like the blue look too. Illinois got great colors. I hope they wear their Juice Williams era helmets.
I don't know what they've announced as their uniforms because they do mix it up.
Yeah, they need to bring back those helmets. Apparently, they hadn't worn those helmets up until last week for many years now. Those are the helmets, not the ones with the blue eye on it. Illini.
How do we make this game interesting? It always seems like when Nebraska and Illinois play, there's nothing like you don't go, wow, that was just an amazing, incredible game.
Well, I mean,
it's usually like a slog where there'll be stretches of maybe 5 to 10 minutes of that's good football.
We had Riley Van Poppel last year. Are you not interested in Riley Van Poppel?
Look where that got him into a redshirt season.
Not playing this year.
But that game last year was like the typical Nebraska-Illinois game. It had some bad football.
Yeah, it did. It did. So 2 years ago,
they knocked out Casey Thompson.
Yeah, that was the game that Matt Rule visited. Lovely weather on a Saturday in Lincoln, yeah.
Now, before Casey Thompson got knocked out, Nebraska had slowed down Chase Brown because that was a good Illinois team. I thought Nebraska was starting to pick up momentum in the second quarter because they'd finally settled in. And then once Casey was gone,
and then
that was Katie bar the door.
Let's keep going back.
Well, there's bad memories here if you go back to games in Champaign.
21 obviously was the game to start the season, week 0, the game that was originally supposed to be in Ireland. That was not good. We don't talk about that game. Why would we? 2020, we also do not talk about that
Talk about
game.
A comeback guy. So we have to talk about 21. Cam Taylor-Britt.
Yeah, he's recovered.
Yes.
He is master bleep talker of the NFL right now.
Oh, hello.
He is out there. He does not care what he says to other people.
No, and the Bengals are wearing off on him because he was not like that when he was here.
This is good. Yeah, he's a bleep talker, that's for sure. We like that. And as long as he keeps backing it up, great interception last week against your favorite team.
Yes.
In which your favorite team won, of course.
All right, 20.
20 was fake punt that the punter just started walking and nobody decided to stop him. That was nice.
That was where I almost drove off the road coming back listening to Scott talk to Greg Sharp. And he asked about the fake punt, and he goes, yeah, we only had 10 guys out there.
20 was the worst game it was either the worst game of the Frost era or the second worst game of the Frost era if you include the Minnesota game from that year where they had 4 players and they won in Lincoln. Nebraska was 16.5-point favorite in that game. They lost by 18. That was nice. 19, Wan'Dale Robinson's coming out party in Champaign.
It was just him and Adrian Martinez.
Yep.
Wan'Dale got beat up in that game.
He got smoked, and then Nebraska hosted Ohio State the next week.
What was that game? It was 42 to 38. 38?
Yeah. Wan'Dale went ham though. And then Nebraska had game day the next week against Ohio State, and that did not go very well. 18 was very uneventful. It was a classic. It was like I thought to myself after that game, I was like, this is how they're going to have to win. Score 54 points and allow the other team to get 35. Get up by 2 touchdowns and then just run away and hide. And they did. 17 was a Friday night game in Champaign. I believe that was a Ben Stilley coming out party that night. I remember some Ben Stilley from that game.
Was that the game also where the ball boy for Nebraska beat Stanley Morgan down the sidelines?
It might be. It might be. That sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah. 16 was one of the Nebraska wins en route to starting 7-0 that year. A very uneventful night. 15 was Tommy Armstrong decided to pass for some reason. That was when we started to wonder a little bit about the Mike Riley era. That was October 3rd, by the way.
It was a tad bit windy.
Yeah. Rainy.
We didn't know how to handle a third down. And then I think there were, last check, 26 defensive pass interference penalties in the end zone on a fade from the 1-yard line.
Yeah. They eventually caught the one. And then was it 14 or 13 where Nebraska wore those horrid uniforms? Those games run together for me. They were the same game. 45-14 and 39-19.
I think it was 14.
All right. Yeah. Bad uniforms, but Randy Gregory killed that guy.
Might have been 13.
Randy's last year was 13, right? Randy. Yeah, he smoked that guy though. So there you go. There's your recent Nebraska-Illinois history. As members of the Big Ten, Nebraska is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 4 against the Illini. 14-6 all time.
But the last 2 trips into Lincoln, Nebraska have gone the way of the Fighting Illini.
They have. And we don't talk about that 20 game.
Like, this is one program in the league like you don't really get triggered about.
No, you don't get too fired up about it playing Illinois. That's for sure. Maybe it'll be different tonight, Friday night, 400th consecutive sellout. They got a little ranking next to their name. People are wondering.
You think there'll be what do you think will be the turnout by Fighting Illini fans? Quick trip from Champaign. We've made the trip. They'll make the trip, but it's a Friday night.
I would say not any more noticeable than normal.
Minimal, right?
Yeah. Probably maybe even less noticeable than normal.
I don't know how many tickets they returned, if they returned any at all.
I'm not sure. Northern Iowa returned some tickets last week, I think. As you look up into that northeast corner of the stands, and you're like, oh, there's nobody there.
Well, go back another week before that, because that's the corner I check now.
Yeah.
Like I checked the student section for 3 straight games, packed. And then I look up to where the overflow visiting section is. And that's usually where you'll have like half rows that are open.
Yep.
The Colorado game, very few Colorado fans up there. So either, I don't think Colorado returned their tickets, but I'm thinking Colorado fans sold their tickets to Nebraska fans for that game.
I would bet that that's probably true. Yeah. So for the visiting sections, you look in that southwest corner in the West Stadium, and then it overflows a little bit into the South Stadium, but then into that northeast corner as well.
Now, why are you
tucked back?
Why are you not going to tailgate today?
Who says I'm not?
I don't know. I don't know if you were going in a capacity of representing the zone or you're representing Connor Happer.
I don't know what I'm representing yet. I am sort of a freelancer, today.
A merc, if you will.
I will leave this show and probably be in the Lincoln vicinity in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 3:30, 3:45, maybe 4 if I make a pit stop on the way. Maybe I have to stop in Iowa on the way before. I don't know why you would have to stop in Iowa on the way before, but
it's on the way.
It's right on the way. It's right on the way. You're getting on the interstate anyway. It's all the same. And then we'll see where it takes me before the game starts. That's kind of how I like to play game days. Really, I just like to get down there and just kind of walk around, and if anything draws me in, I just tractor beam.
You really are like the one person that works at this station that like, I gotta take it in. I gotta do a lap.
You only get 12.
I gotta walk around.
You only get 6 or 7.
Everybody else is jaded and has their routine. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be talked to.
Now, I stopped by quite a few friends' tailgates.
Yeah, it just depends on how far. I got some invites last week, and then I thought, oh boy, that's all the way over there. And then I got to walk all the way back. And then by the time I'm walking back, it's probably 6 o'clock, and I don't want to be fighting all the people trying to get in. So I like to be in there early enough. So I don't like to tell people, okay, I'll stop by if I'm not going to, and then if it makes it more difficult for me. So I just say, yeah, maybe. And then I don't usually stop by anybody still. Alex Lincoln says Happer is a free spirit. Also, Jeff says, good job killing the Friday vibes by going through the Frost era. Sorry, this is our history. This is our history. All right. We have to embrace our own history around here.
If Frost would have only been Josh Heupel.
Hey, what kind of reviews did you get on your roast last night?
Very positive. The guy that I roasted said very nice things.
Yeah.
Even though I, for about 2.5 hours, did not say anything nice about him.
So there was a few, just to set things up. We were at Marty Cordero's entry onto his face went on the barroom floor at the Omaha Press Club last night. A great event. I enjoyed my post-event, post-beers coffee.
I know. I looked
it set me up.
Josh. So when I would get done and I would introduce the next roaster, I would go and stand kind of in the back. And a guy standing behind me at about, 9 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
Drinking a cup of coffee.
It's so good.
Post-reception coffee.
It just puts me in the right place.
Yeah.
I can't explain it.
It really did. It put you in the right frame of mind. You weren't, I just had a coffee. I gotta go.
Yeah.
No, you were very.
It straightens you out. And I think based on the history here, it sets me up for the next day too.
Really?
You get a little slog after having a whole bunch of beers and staying out late the night before, but you have that coffee right at the end. You're in a good place.
Yes, because that brings up. So last Saturday night when you and I were at the game,
I was mad because they were out of coffee.
It's like the third quarter, my man's drinking coffee. It's like 9 o'clock at night.
Well, it should tell you something that the whole vat of coffee ran out at Memorial Stadium, and I was tipping the damn thing over trying to get out the last, the last drip of it. I had a quarter cup of coffee basically. But okay, so back to the roast thing. So there was 3 or 4 roasters last night. Gary was MC, Mr. Master Roaster, I should say. So he started things off. And I got to say, you came in hot. I believe the second word was the F word. So that was good. And I noticed that the other roasters, there was some roasting, there were some jokes, there were some stories. And then there was like, oh, but Marty, we love you and we appreciate you. And you got to that eventually by the end of it. But you were a little more heavy on the roasting. Like, as you know, I think you probably watched some tape before and you watched the roast of Tom Brady and you were like, this is what I have to do. I have to do these things. You were like the Tony Hinchcliffe of that roast last night.
I asked Marty, I said, okay, can I swear? And he's like, certainly. And so
then you realize his kids were there and you're like, what?
The guy that is in charge of the press club seemed to be kind of stodgy to me. And we had to loosen up Roger.
Yeah.
And so that's why
you got him going.
I said, thank you, Roger. that was an effing great introduction.
And at that point, I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
There was a P. Diddy reference.
There was.
Only took about 4 minutes.
I don't even know how you snuck that in there. Congratulations.
Well, because I said, if anybody is wondering and you miss any of the exciting moments of this roast, don't worry, P. Diddy is filming. Now, it did not get like super raunchy. I think I kept it inside of the guardrails for the most part.
You had people wondering what Tinder was.
So Marty, I've already said this. So Marty, at the end, when I introduced him for his moment,
Yeah, you had a nice long handshake.
he goes, "My mom doesn't know what Tinder is." But when I was telling jokes and some of them were borderline uncomfortable, there was the guy that was in front of me that's from the press club, and his face was white.
Nice.
And I'm like, this is probably not what the MC does, but I know the audience. We're rolling.
Yeah,
you were living on a razor blade, right on the edge.
Well, it's I view it as setting the tone.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
that's
you
what
felt
that's supposed to be.
setting the tone. And so I think you set the tone of all bets are off tonight. You know, we're going for this thing. And it was great. It was a great event. And congratulations to Marty.
The only one I wasn't able to use because we were running a little bit long. So people know Ricky Fulton, right?
Yes.
You're familiar with that name?
Yes.
Can't stand the Storm Chasers being in Sarpy County. Doesn't think they should have ever left Omaha. They should be playing at the downtown ballpark.
Mhm.
So Ricky writes into the Public Pulse a lot. And he has lengthy,
We love
letters.
the public posts.
I've played golf with Ricky this summer. We're in a golf league together. But his son-in-law is Bryan Windhorst.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
But he is a thorn in the side of Marty. And so I was going to mention one guy that could not be here tonight was Ricky Fulton, but he wanted to send along a comment because I asked him what does he think of Marty, and this was going to be the joke. He thinks that Marty is so fake that even China denied making him.
And that one got left on the cutting room
Yeah,
floor.
there was another one that I wanted to roast one of the roasters, but I thought that I don't know that they would get me.
It was good. There was some Omaha history in there. You know how the Storm Chasers came to be, how Warner Park came to be. I thought the Warner CEO Derek kind of
He
stole
was
the
funny.
show.
He was funny.
He did a nice
Yeah.
job with his video, although the music was playing a little too loud in the
Little
background. That's okay.
Yeah, we got to work on the
Mixing.
we got to work on the electronics there at Omaha Press Club. They need to update the video system. But it's a cool event. I mean,
It
like you
is.
walk through
What a great
all
place.
of the people that have been honored there. Man, that is a living history museum
It
of
is.
Omaha.
We were sitting next to the faces of
We were in the KETV
Yes.
commemorative
it was
corner.
Bill Ramby and Julie Cornell had a
Rob McCartney
Rob McCartney was right
Did
next
Bill
to
and Julie go in together?
together.
Yes,
Yeah.
they went in together.
Weird that they would put those two in together.
Interesting. I think Larry the cable guy was right next to where we were
Yeah.
sitting as well.
We
They're
sat-
running out of room on the wall.
Yes. We sat next to Trev.
Well, they rotate them in and out. don't
Trev
they?
has gone in.
He went in and when he was
the whole
at
thing is a sham. Then.
name off the press club.
So somebody asked, I don't know if it's specifically about Trev, but he went in when he was the athletic director at UNO because it's got Baxter Arena on his picture.
Sure.
And no one has ever been taken off the wall there.
Oh,
So once you're up, you stay.
Huh?
no one's ever
Has
in,
there been
in
a-
disgrace.
Has there been any
I don't know.
potential cancellations of anybody that? Yeah, interesting.
But this
It's a
guy
sacred
was
place.
this guy who was familiar with it that was sitting near us was like, nope. That's like one of the things they don't ever take you off the wall.
That's awesome. That's good. You could do anything after that.
Yeah,
Even leave Nebraska.
carte blanche.
Once you're in, you're in.
It was a cool event. It's a neat honor for Marty.
I had never been up in the up there before on the 22nd floor of the DoubleTree, I guess it or like next. What is that building? The First National
the
building?
old First National building.
Yeah.
But it's not the First National Tower. But we got to see many Omaha landmarks. You get to see right into the baseball park, right? On CHI Health Center. You get to see the big empty grass lot where the Civic Auditorium used to
Sad.
be. Very, very sad. And you get to see Omaha's newest skyscraper going right up before our eyes.
Is there any other place? Like I know there was. Someone told me there. Maybe it's still there. There was a restaurant
On top
at
of
the
the
top of the Woodman.
I think that still exists.
Like, is there any place that you can go in Omaha? Like, you can't go to the top of the FNBO building and have like a lookout.
Is there not an observatory deck up there? I have no idea what happens, and I've never been in that building.
Only time I've been to the FNBO building, you have to be cleared by security to even go to the elevators and go up. I think they should have
They should put something up there.
They should have a viewing deck.
Yeah.
In downtown Omaha.
Maybe that's where you put your Omaha Sports Hall of Fame.
No, that's going to be at the airport.
Oh, we've already decided on this.
Dead set on that airport. Not budging.
You guys don't understand the impact of people getting off a plane and seeing the history of Omaha while they're eating at Block 16.
Yeah, that's helpful. It's helpful. That's for sure. All those new restaurants, though, I don't know if there's enough room. I want to do it. I want to do it right.
Yeah.
You know, all those great Omaha local restaurants. I can't wait for the new airport.
Somebody asked a question the other day, like, these restaurants don't make any sense because how many layovers do you have in Omaha?
Well, zero. You don't have any layovers.
I'm like, I think it's going to be more of
Yeah.
you get to the airport early and you can go and have a meal.
Sure.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, that's what happens at airports.
Are there any layovers in Omaha?
No.
Couldn't possibly be, right?
No. There's like a couple situations I'm sure where like you're flying from, I don't know, somewhere, and then you have to the plane stops in Omaha, picks up more people, and then continues on to
that'd be
Denver.
Southwest, right?
Yes. But I think in those cases you have to stay in the plane. I've done that before.
Well,
It's not in Omaha, obviously, but
Oh, the Southwest one where they count you?
they count you. You have to stay on the plane, and then you continue on to your next
And then they
location.
say you can move seats if you'd like.
Yeah. And I always do, right to the front. So I can get off that sucker. Let me out.
All right. So you guys had fun last night?
We did.
You weren't offended?
No.
Okay.
I was the only person in the group who was interested in the seafood stuffed mushrooms.
I don't need fun.
I asked Josh, I said, Josh, check out one of these mushrooms. They're pretty good. He goes, no. Straight up, no.
Couldn't be me.
Weird.
I think it's weird that you eat fungus.
It's a mushroom, Josh. They're delicious, and they're stuffed with delicious seafood and cream cheese.
Josh, I think you would enjoy mushroom hunting.
Yeah, you go shrooming?
What
some
about
morels?
me makes you say that I would enjoy that?
You're very
activity?
outdoorsy.
Yeah, you love the outdoors.
Almost the exact opposite.
You love the rain, moist conditions. I've always said this about you.
Well.
You should go up north a little bit. Go up north on I-29. There's some great spots. Go Morel. Let you cut them down. And they're very few and far between.
I
Then
didn't
you
know
get back
this.
home and you fry them up.
I did not know this before I brought it up. That we have a pro sitting in the studio.
Oh yeah. No, I've been shrooming before.
I'll go up to Iowa.
It's in Nebraska. It's in Iowa. It's all there.
Well, I'd prefer Iowa. You guys hunt the mushrooms. I'll sit in my car and play some wagers.
There's just people pulled over on the side of the road.
I'm going shroom hunting. Don't bother me.
Have a good show, boys.
Okay.
Have a good weekend. Enjoy your time in Lincoln. Good luck tomorrow for Iowa Western.
Enjoy the great state of Iowa this evening.
Yes.
We love Iowa
I will.
and all the things.
Enjoy. Hey,
that
by
you
the
can
way,
do
enjoy
there.
like basically an off weekend.
I know, it's so great. I can't wait to do nothing on Saturday.
Does your daughter comply with that?
We don't have anything on the books. We don't have anything except for Sunday afternoon, but we don't have anything on the books.
What do you got on Sunday afternoon?
It's a
big family event?
Yeah, birthday lunch.
Okay.
Hello.
Yep,
Well, happy birthday.
birthday lunch for my father-in-law. I won't say where, but it's a Omaha staple.
Oh, okay. So it's not a chain restaurant?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Definitely not.
Staple.
They should
Nice.
not have a second location of this place.
All right. Have a good weekend, boys.
All right. That is Gary Sharp. That's the crossover, and it's powered by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com. It's Friday, game day. We'll start things off next.
It's the Connor Happer Show. Are we sure we want to do this?
Could you, make an announcement that we're ready?
It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620, The Zone.
Good morning. Happy Friday and welcome in. It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Your pregame for your pregame. Come get your pregame. We got it for you.
We heard you liked pregame, so we got a pregame show for your pregame show.
That is coming off of the pregame for your pregame for your pregame. Coming up next, it's the pregame, and then it's the game.
How's your mother?
Say hi to your mother for me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's game day, everybody. Are the vibes good? They seem good. People watching hype videos today.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Feeling things.
Keith Jackson made an appearance in the hype video today. I don't know how they got him. Maybe it's recorded from
probably
before
AI.
He left us. Yes. Welcome. Nebraska and Illinois tonight. This is your pregame for your pregame. Don't forget, the boys from Unsportsmanlike Conduct will be at the Blur underneath the bridge starting at 2. We'll cross over with them this afternoon. They'll be there till 6, and kickoff tonight on Big Fox is at 7 o'clock. Big Red Overreaction tonight after the game from the Bobbums, afterwards with the aforementioned pregame hosts. Not the pregame for your pregame hosts, the pregame hosts.
Listen to John count the trains.
John will say,
Oh,
train!
we got one, make him honk.
John's just he's getting close to naming the trains, calling out the trains. He's almost a train guy. He gets pretty excited for the trains.
You can listen to Nick exaggerate what time he'll be getting home tonight.
Yep.
All day long.
It just keeps getting later and later.
Uh-huh.
Keeps getting later and later. These are the things that we must sacrifice for Nebraska playing only night games, apparently, now. This is what happens.
When you're good, that's what happens.
Will the drones spell out 400 tonight? Oh, I would say bet on it.
Yeah.
Bet on it. Now, hopefully they've fixed those frequency issues down there. There was a lot of that going on last week.
Oh.
Yeah, there was just some interference last week. I don't know why or what that even means, really. I'm not an expert on any of this, but I know that's why they didn't have the drone show last week.
Is it safe?
Safe for who? Safe for the drones? Maybe not. Safe for people? Definitely.
Okay.
Yes. Off and running. Here we go. On a game day Friday. Please hit up the show. We'd love you to join us in this Friday extravaganza, as Bryan Munson, Brian Christopherson, and Stephen M. Sipple will today. Stephen has alerted me that his phone will not be on airplane mode this week.
So the odds seem high that Stephen M. Sipple will appear on our show today.
When we call him, he will likely answer, but maybe not on the first ring like Equitable Bank, but that he'll answer at some point.
Can you give me 3 minutes? I'm getting a cough.
He might have a little bit of that. So we'll probably call him about 12:34 today.
Mm-hmm.
One of those things. Munson, BC, Sipple, the regular Friday lineup, powered by the referees at John Hagan's Weather Guard. Want to hear from you guys, 402-951-1620 on the 42 Degrees Source hotline. You can call or text that number. Tweet at Happer Show, at Connor Happer. Birds on my timeline, call it Twitter. Josh, that's Skrilla. That's Skrilla.
Oh.
All about my Skrilla.
Money.
That's what we're all about on this show. At Happer Show, at Connor Happer on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. Email Connor and Josh O at 1620thezone.com. On the Equitable Bank Zone inbox, you get to watch along with us. You can see our beautiful, beautiful faces on zonetv.live or on YouTube, 1620 The Zone TV. Hokisker has an idea for a new segment for us since Josh has shown off his love of mushrooms. Outdoors with Oddson. Outdoors with Oddson could be a bit.
If Greg Wagner wanted to, sponsor a segment, I would happily schlep about the wilderness.
You
with
would
him.
go to Iowa, make sports bets, and make somebody else do the segment for you.
That's right.
But you would drive.
I'll bring a lawn chair and a cooler, and I will use the cooler as a footrest. Now, I will gladly move my feet when you need whatever is in the cooler. You want a cold soda?
That's
be
nice.
in there.
That's really thoughtful of you.
I'll buy them and bring them.
Today, elsewhere on the show, besides our guests, we will Maybe we'll talk about Ohtani in a second.
Baseball?
Yeah, just a little bit.
But Connor,
Baseball should get you hyped for football.
what a hypocrite you are.
I love baseball. I've always said this.
Yesterday,
The
you
Royals
said you
didn't play
hate it,
yesterday,
and it's canceled.
and it's alive and well. That is until they get swept again this weekend, and people start wondering.
Don't get swept by the Giants.
Nope.
Okay.
I wouldn't. I would not suggest that they do that either. But I'm saying it's possible. It's possible. We will have more college football coverage from over the weekend. Game that I'm watching, Michigan and USC. Excited to just sit back, relax, and watch the orgy show.
We use the phrase, "Oh, that's a helmet game," far too often in society. That's a helmet game.
That's a helmet
tomorrow.
game, folks.
Yeah.
That is a helmet game, certainly.
And quick, I don't know where you wanted to go with that.
I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, USC.
Yeah.
Your plane video.
They did a plane video?
Yeah, a video from the plane where they landed in Ann Arbor.
Oh,
and it's
I haven't seen this.
Welcome to USC Air, ladies and gentlemen. We've arrived in Big Ten country or something like that.
Oh, that's funny.
Bleep, you are Big Ten country. The whole country is Big Ten country, coast to coast.
No. That's not that's they haven't adjusted to that.
You're
yet.
us now.
I haven't seen this video. I didn't know that. I see they're hopping on the jet as of 1 minute ago, straight to the jet, and I'm gone. Airplane emoji, double exclamation point emoji, and peace sign. As for V and victory. So you're saying that they haven't, because they haven't even arrived yet. It doesn't appear.
Where was this?
I'm not
this
sure.
Is,
this is a hype video from somebody else.
This is at USC Athletics. These appear to be fans taking the trip.
Gotcha.
USC _ athletics. I'm sorry.
USC _ athletics. USC football has not, they have not arrived yet. They're just hopping on the jet.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be good. It'll be it's a decent Big Ten weekend. It's not a great slate nationally. We'll pick the games a little bit later on. I was able to gain some ground on Josh last week.
I like to keep it close for the ratings.
Keep him alive just so he can feel it.
That's right.
One of those type of things.
Definitely.
All right. Well, we'll see if that works out for you. We'll make our picks later on in the show. Our keys to the game from Nebraska. Full disclosure, I did these keys after I got home from the event last night, after beers and coffees.
Well, the coffee kept you up.
So we'll see if I made any coherent sense at all.
Ooh.
I haven't checked on these since I wrote them last night, and I didn't double check, Josh.
Good bit.
So let's see how that one goes. That will be at 1:00. Elsewhere, so we'll get into that Michigan USC game. I want to do a little sellout streak appreciation. I know people are cynical about the sellout streak. I get it. I understand it. We'll do that coming up next. But I'd like to. This is a really, really good acknowledgement, and it should be a celebration for the fans today. Who I think we love so much to talk about how Nebraska is the greatest fans in college football and or in college athletics, whatever.
We do like saying that.
We have a lot of examples of this, but man, this is a good one. So we'll talk about that coming back. Who might have a big day? What might the atmosphere be like tonight? A little bit on USC, Illinois' wide receivers. Like I said, keys to victory. Should we do some quick Ohtani here? Okay, so 6 for 6 with 10 RBIs and 3 home runs is pretty good. Take number 1 of the show today. I think anyone who's keeping track on the YouTube would say that Connor Happer is 1 for 1 today.
Ding!
Nice job! Nice job by me. It was the first 6 hit, 3 homer, 10 RBI, 2 steal game in Major League Baseball history.
Sure.
And he joined the 50-50 club. He made it up. And then he joined the 51-51 club. And he made that up too. All on the fly last night.
He hit 3 homers.
He hit 3 home runs. I mean, I believe it was 17 total bases, which is like 1 or 2 shy of the greatest, like literally one of the greatest offensive games of all time Shohei Ohtani had last night in baseball. You know how many baseball games there have been, Josh? There's been a lot of baseball games.
Like 1,000.
No. Try many more than 1,000. Many more than 1,000. Shohei Ohtani may have just had one that stood out amongst all of them last night. I saw, so let me go back here. So the list of players before last night with 17 total bases in a game Shohei Ohtani is the first to do it without hitting 4 home runs. He's the only one to steal a base. And by the way, he had 2. On the day he joined the 50-50 club, which he created, he had one of the greatest games in MLB history. Sean Green's 4-homer game, 19 total bases in 2002 when he was a Dodger at Milwaukee. Joe Adcock in 1954 had 18 total bases. Josh Hamilton's 4-home run game in 2012 is on the list, 18 total bases. And Shohei joins Scooter Gennett from 2017, Gil Hodges from 1950, and Mike Schmidt from 1976. People who got 17 total bases in a singular baseball game. One of the greatest single game offensive performances we've ever seen. Congratulations to Mr. Shohei.
Congrats. It was a 20-4 win in Miami last night. Connor, he went 6 for 6. He was 5 for 5 with runners in scoring position. He leads off for the Los Angeles Dodgers, so he did not have a chance to do that in his first at bat. Every at bat after that, he got a hit with runners in scoring.
He drove in many runs, 10 of them.
My God, man!
Last night, pretty good. Josh, back to your comment on where Big Ten country is. An interesting point here from the 757.
Hi, 757.
Now, the 757 is Virginia area code.
Okay.
But this
I think I know where this is going, and that's fair.
But this text comes to us from the great, not at all in shambles state of Florida. No Big Ten here in Florida. Josh, would you like to respond? Address the allegations?
You are correct. There is not a Big Ten school.
Are you going to say, wait till Florida State joins the Big Ten?
I mean, it might happen, but I don't want it to happen. But you will find from literally sea to shining sea, east to west, there is representation in the Big
Just say you're wrong, Josh. Just say you're wrong.
No.
You're wrong.
The ACC.
I don't see any Big Ten in Florida.
The ACC is allowed to say they are a coast-to-coast conference, which is odd because their name is Atlantic Coast Conference. One coast.
I don't think Piscataway's on the coast. I mean, it's close.
Close enough.
All right.
Should we get a beach school in the Big Ten?
Yes. Somebody on the water.
Is there a college on the Jersey Shore?
We need Pepperdine, and I don't know, maybe Northwestern is the only one that we do have a beach school, I guess.
That is right on the water.
Scott writes in on Twitter.
Hi, Scott.
So if I'm hearing Connor and Josh right, John Bishop has a model train set up in his basement. That might explain his football hate, all of his time spent working on his little model train town. Josh and Nick should follow up, see if he has a conductor hat. Interesting point. That sounds right to me.
I'm sorry, I just assumed these things about John Bishop.
He's old and he's kind of a nerd. Like, he's got a model train.
Yeah,
definitely. Jack Mitchell did a tweet. Maybe we could use this one on the show today. He's asking people on Twitter, among the 400 sellouts in person for you, give me your first, your favorite, your most painful, your best single moment, and your favorite companion. Yes.
That's going to be a lot of.
I don't remember my first.
I was told everyone remembers their first time, Connor.
I think we can trace it back to one of those, like a Utah State game in the mid 2000s. I think we could trace it back, but I don't like, my family is not of having Nebraska football tickets. They're really not of Nebraska football. Like, we've come to enjoy it, but like, I was only indoctrinated into Nebraska football by my surroundings, right? By my neighbors, by some of my family. Like, that is how that sort of came to be for me. So then one of my friends had season tickets and we ended up, going to games, but I never, like, I don't think I've ever been to a Nebraska football game with my dad. They've been to just one or two games. I think they got tickets to the 2015 Michigan State win, that crazy one where Brandon Riley definitely didn't step out of bounds on purpose, and come back inbounds and catch the winning touchdown that ended up being Michigan State's only loss before going to the college football playoff that year. So like that wasn't like in my, I wasn't born into it, I guess I should say. So it's hard to remember my first, and all my favorites have come from the last, 15 or 20 years, I guess. There's been some painful ones, that's for sure. I don't know if I were to get it back to one single moment, the one that comes to my head more than any of a Nebraska game at home that I have been to. This is weird. I don't know how many people would agree with me. I don't know if this is an age thing or not. And it was in a game that Nebraska lost. It was for a coaching staff that wouldn't be around for very long. It was the Jano run.
Okay.
It was the Jano run in 2015. I thought Nebraska was finally going to exercise their demons and beat Wisconsin, and they were going to do so by a 50-plus yard run by a fullback. The crowd, I never heard anything like that. I mean, it was insane. And then that was the debut of the "let me clear my throat" thing. Like, people were so into it, and Nebraska failed down the stretch and got a field goal kicked on them and ended up losing that game. But if I'm to distill it down to, like, man, I really remember where my feet were at that moment. It's that one, or I think of the beginning of the, like, single moments, right? Not whole games. There's a bunch of whole games. Single moments. I think of when I was the buzz and the vibe pre-kickoff 2018 Akron for a game that never happened. I thought I've never felt that kind of electricity before. And maybe we felt it a little bit a couple weeks ago with Colorado, but still, I mean, it was so different because people were so fired up for the first game of the Scott Frost era, and they were like, wow, I think we're going to be back, and all this stuff. And then obviously it ended up, everything basically went downhill from that moment. But I remember being on the field for that moment, and I thought, oh my, I've seen this crowd be really good. I've never felt this before. So those moments come to my head.
I'm very similar to you. I didn't grow up going to the games a lot. It was super special if we got to. I've probably been to as many Nebraska football games at Arrowhead as I have at Memorial Stadium.
Good one.
I remember an Oklahoma State game at Arrowhead. The really cold Big 12 championship. You're gonna have to help me with the years here, Connor. The really, really cold Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It was like 12-7, 10-7, something like that.
6,
Yeah.
I think.
For whatever reason, my favorite memory is the 2007 Ball State game that was won on like a last second field goal.
Joe Daly.
Really pissed.
Was that 2007?
Yeah. I looked it up because that's the one that I could vividly remember.
It was like 41-40, right?
Right, exactly.
Actually, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because I think that's the one game that I have gone to with my dad for whatever reason. We got tickets, and I went to that. I remember going to that game in the North Stadium.
My dad was always looking in the paper for people selling their tickets, and somebody was selling their tickets to that. He called up this old timer, and he's like, yeah, we're in Western Nebraska. We don't get out to the stadium as much as we'd like to. It's Ball State. It's not super exciting to us, so we're selling our tickets. He just happened to have tickets like on the 50-yard line in the fourth row.
Yeah.
The quarterback's dad, Sam Keller's dad, was like 3 rows behind us.
That's awesome. That's a memory.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
Lot 1 parking, like right, walk in the front door right there.
It's like, is this how it usually works? No, it's usually a lot harder.
Yeah.
Can we go to Nebraska football games all the time? Yes, but you're going to have to work for it.
Let's go all the time. Yeah. So that's my best memory.
Send in your memories. I would like to read those today on the show, even if it's just the most mundane of things.
Absolutely.
But, we'll of course pay tribute to the sellout streak. I have something to say about it. Maybe we'll do that when we come back here. Bryan Munson's going to join us in just a few minutes as well. We're off and running on a game day Friday. The pregame for your pregame. The Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. Welcome back. Connor Happer, Josh Johnson with you. The Connor Happer Show, 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Bryan Munson's going to join us in just a few minutes.
The Bryan Munson?
That's the guy. I don't know which Bryan Munson you could possibly be thinking of.
What kind of recruiting hit is Nebraska taking by having the audacity to play on a Friday night?
Yeah, that's question number one. Certainly. Pedro writes in.
Hi, Pedro.
Says, hi, guys. My greatest memory of a Nebraska game, I went with my son to the Oklahoma game where they threw the pass back to Crouch. He scored the touchdown. The loudest I've ever heard the stadium cheer. That is a great memory. I think a lot of people are like, yep, that was a good one.
Definitely.
I remember Black 41 flash reverse. That was a good day. I see that one pop up probably more than just about any other game nowadays.
That was Jack Mitchell's favorite memory when he answered his own questions to the audience.
So let's do a little solid streak appreciation. I know people get cynical about it. And we might say it, we might say it too much, like, hey, Nebraska is the greatest, like whatever. But maybe we don't acknowledge it enough on this show. And that leads to taking it for granted a little bit. It's not just a sellout streak. It's a representation. It's the fan base in general. 400 sellouts in a row should be a celebration, and it should not be a thing that we're cynical about. Wow, they've done it for. I wonder what the it'll go for 500 if Nebraska keeps going the way they are right now. It's not an acknowledgement. I don't want this to be. I don't want the 400th sellout to be an acknowledgement of all of the times that it's been close to ending, right? Because you see that, I've seen that a lot this week of, well, that's a fake sellout streak. There was a couple games I saw that stupid Hawks guy that everybody, he tends to trigger everybody and then shuts down his mentions a lot. And he's like, look at how many people were at this game in this year, and there was 50,000 scanned tickets, and they, said that 80,000 seats were sold and it's a capacity crowd and all that stuff. But look. I understand. Like, I don't want this to be an acknowledgement of that. I don't want this to be an acknowledgement of like the creativity that Nebraska executives have had to go through to try and keep this thing alive over the years. There's been some really lean times over the last several years, but the truth still remains. The truth is that Nebraska fans support everything. And so this is a representation of that. Nebraska fans deserve this one. And all the ones that come after. Nebraska can still say that they have the best support in the country without the sellout streak. But man, isn't it easier to just say this? Isn't it easier to say, hey, look, a lot of people claim that they have the best fans in the country, best fan base in the country. I hear coaches and athletic directors and players and whatever say stuff like that all the time. But when Nebraska says it, it's true. And everybody comes here and they see it, whether it's for the first time or for the 100th time, and they say, man, this is a place that is really special and really different. Isn't it easier to just say they've sold out every game for 60 plus years? Every game for 60 plus years, rather than say what everybody else says, which is we have the greatest fans in college athletics. We have the greatest fans in college sports. So like, I think that's what this is about, rather than, it almost died a couple times. And I saw, there was somebody who aggregated what Sam said on his podcast.
Oh yeah.
About, maybe you could make the case that the sellout streak is a burden in terms of the tradition of the football program, and it holds them back from doing more creative things and things like I understand that, and it's probably true to a certain extent, but I just don't like. I don't know. I think this is a thing where you should look at it from the emotional perspective. This is a thing where you should look at it from the sentimental perspective, not like a transactional dollars and cents. Here's what they need to do this. Like, it is a representation more than it is the importance of the actual thing. It is a representation of through these gates, past the greatest fans in college, whatever. And it's like, and I think it's really cool to be able to say that out loud. So I appreciate that it's been kept alive. Maybe artificially at times it's been kept alive. But I don't think this is like, I don't think this is a time to say, well, it's been artificially kept alive and it really, it really hasn't been sold out for every game for 60 years. Sure, whatever. But the truth still remains. This is a special, special place. This is what makes Nebraska different from all of the other places. It's the fact that you can say this and it's real. The truth still remains here.
Today is not the day for, oh yeah, but not today. I saw the streak compared to maybe if you have your children in the car, earmuffs. I saw it compared to Santa Claus this week.
No, why?
Where it's
You don't have to.
it's more about the magic and the representation than the actual physical being.
Absolutely.
And within that athletic department, they take it really, really seriously. That is a point of pride, to the point of that they don't want it to ever go away. That they welcome that burden that you called it.
It's special.
Yeah.
It's what makes the It's not the streak itself. It's not how many people go through whatever, but it's the fact that if you have a thing, if you have an event, Nebraska will support it, and they will come out in droves to support it, and they will show up for many, and especially Nebraska football, which has now been so ingrained into the DNA of the state. Like you said, Josh, it's more about the idea of it than it is about the physical happening of it. So I'm glad that we have this representation and this thing to point to on the wall to say, you sold out 400 games in a row, just like you did when it was 300, and just like you will do when it's 500. It's a representation of all of the things that Nebraska does that are different. And that's what makes college football cool. Like you don't know about it until you go. You don't know about it until you go. I still hear fans of other Big Ten teams coming into Lincoln for the first time, and they say, this is so unique. This is so different. This is so different. This is such a different setup than everybody else. And the clapping when they walk off the field and the politeness and all that stuff, like that's what makes Nebraska special. And I know that people are cynical about that stuff. Like, maybe we need to have that edge. We need to be more mean. We need to put Nebraska nice to the side. We need to, if the team is bad, then the fans should use their ability to not go to games, to not support the team.
I'm voting with my wallet.
Exactly. And I think it's a representation of Nebraska football, first of all, being good for almost all of those years, that fans will still come out to support it. But then during the lean times, it's a representation that the fans support it even through those times. That is a really special thing that you almost can't sell anywhere else. When the team gets bad for a long period of time, they just don't go. And I think that's a positive more than it is a negative. I think there's negative things that can come from it. Sure. Like, I think you could get complacent in if there's, if you're 5-7 for however many straight years and still 80,000 people show up to the game. But if you're a coaching staff and administration that appreciates it and that understands it and that doesn't take it for granted, like Matt Rule has, then it becomes a special thing. It's a representation. I keep saying that over and over again. I get it.
Like, Notre Dame's sellout streak ended in 2019 or something like that.
Yeah. Somebody asked me this morning, what's the sellout? What's the second longest now? And I think it's Georgia, and it's in like the 50s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what could have made it through COVID and the pandemic and all that while still selling things out? Yeah.
And the stadium has changed drastically over the years, and it will continue to undergo many more changes in the coming years. But this is this is state, and people say too. We got a comment from YouTube before, is like, this is the thing that kind of connects us to the past, and I think that's true. but it's a sign, a signal of the undying and unwavering like support that Nebraska fans will give, and that will always be there, whether or not the sellout streak is there.
We talk about on the show all the time that Nebraska fans genuinely enjoy being called upon by the university to help. Oh, the university has asked me to be at open practice. Oh, the university has asked for my help in attending volleyball day in America. Like it sounds super corny on the surface, but it's a real thing. They love the university needs me. I will be there to help.
There are things that you can say here and do here that that don't make any sense anywhere else. And it's because of all of that support. So I think today should be a celebration of that. Tonight should be a celebration of that. And hopefully you feel like you feel as if you've been rewarded through the lean times with this seemingly good football team. That always helps. All right, quick timeout. Bryan Munson will join us on the other side. I want to hear still your thoughts, takes on the streak itself, and then the game. There is a football game tonight as well. We'll be back after this with Munson on 1620 The Zone.
Bryan Munson.
Hey, long call. Comfy left zoom buster. 63 bang. Z Maui. Alert. Paradise Z Burger Y wrap on one.
Husker Online on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
All right, and we're joined now on the 42 Degrees of Source hotline by Bryan Munson of HuskerOnline.com. Munson, hello. Happy Friday. How are you?
Happy Friday. Happy game day. Happy game night. Whatever
I know.
you want to call it.
I'm very excited that this game is tonight. I know people have been cynical about it. I'm excited that this game is tonight, mostly because of what it does for the rest of my weekend. Kind of clears things out a little bit.
Well, and there's some other great games this weekend, too. I mean, you want to, you look, you always want to give your focus and attention to this game, but then all of a sudden you find like that 1 hour that it's like just bombarded with other games that you wish that at least it's not stacking up to like that. So you get it out in the open. But I mean, I have to admit, like my whole week screwed up. They bumped my kids' game up from Thursday to Wednesday. Now Nebraska plays on Friday, and now the Bills don't play on Monday. What the heck?
Yeah,
like, dude, I am all discombobulated on my side. So my schedule all screwed up. But again, isolated everything for me very, very nicely. And I too, oddly to say, am a bit of a fan of this Friday night like game thing, even though like everybody has to make adjustments to their schedule, and Lincoln Public Schools doing their games on Thursday nights. I mean,
it doesn't have to be an every year thing, but right now I can deal with it.
I agree with that, and I think that if it does deliver some additional revenue to the bottom line, stuff particularly that goes to the roster and the players and whatever, then you know where that money's coming from, right? So there's that.
All right, Munson. Let's go back. I know we've been kind of checking in on these guys for each of the last couple of weeks, but those targets that were here for the Colorado game, I don't know if there's anything new on guys like Dawson Merritt. I know I guess Cortez Mills, there is something new on him, and he's reaffirmed his commitment to Oklahoma at this point. But are those sort of the headliners, the top stories in recruiting right now?
It is. I mean, I think the part that's like really the most interesting out of all of it is that, you know, Dawson Merritt is saying essentially that the door isn't completely closed in Nebraska. That's number one. And the second part is that Michael Terry, who everybody felt like he was going to be committing before the start of his senior season and would be, off the board, committed to Texas by now, isn't. And I think that's, I mean, maybe it's delaying the inevitable, and maybe, it's just kind of dragging this thing out. But I think it also is still a very much positive for Nebraska to kind of consider here that they do have some sort of a fighting chance still, something to fight for in that space. And then I think that there's a couple of compelling stories that are already on the commitment list. You have to look at like Jeremiah Jones and what he told me a week ago that he's still committed to Nebraska right now. Plus tweeting out pictures of like Missouri edits, earlier in the week. And then, I think we kind of put to bed though the speculation around Malcolm Simpson today in Tunnel Talk. So I think you get Simpson back in the boat. You still have one that's kind of hanging out there, flailing in the wind with Jeremiah Jones a little bit. Maybe a little bit of a chance with Merritt, maybe a little bit slightly less of a chance with Michael Terry, but Mills for now seems to be off the board, but you never know. Like, look, guys, you never know if this thing really runs out like people might be suggesting it does to Ohio State, listening to Joel Klatt, talking about how good the Huskers are. What happens if Nebraska gets into a CFP? What happens at the end of the year? You're shooting and you're playing for stuff that nobody could have anticipated was going to happen. That is really kind of some changing space that Nebraska fans aren't used to. People still call me this morning going, "You really think Nebraska's going to win tonight?" Like, I understand like the doubt, because it's been created over years and years and years of watching it. So yeah, I think that could be some positivity coming out of some of the stuff when these bigger wins are kind of happening, and see where the season kind of takes us to where, you could possibly go back and circle back to even like the Cortez Mills in November.
So are they, I mean, with 19 commits in the class right now, would you say that they're in a good position Like until you get to that point? Is it just sort of like, I don't know, biding your time is not a great like way to put it, but is it just sort of waiting it out until you feel like doors might open if that you just explained, bigger things for Nebraska do end up opening some doors later on?
Unfortunately, yes. I think that you're kind of there. I mean, you got Chase Lofton. You have to kind of include that into the possibility. Nebraska is going to step it up for him. He's having a heck of a senior year. Florida State's having, off to a horrible start. What was supposed to be the revenge tour 2024 for the Seminoles has been a nightmare. I mean, you just have to go ahead and say that. Plus, it's like I don't think things when he committed to Florida State, the optimism might have been there in certain pockets about Nebraska, but now there's some real tangible results. So now there's some other things to kind of consider and think about here when it comes to the Huskers. So I think with everything that we said before, plus Lofton, get out to a point where, you think that there's enough to maybe go back and retouch on, some other guys that maybe didn't want to visit Nebraska in June for an official visit. Maybe you can reapproach those guys. I think the guys that did visit in June that are committed to other schools, it's not like anybody else, like besides Lofton, like that those teams are having awful seasons. Most of those guys like committed to Oregon and Texas, it's like, oh, well, those are tough ones. Those are tough eggs to crack. But I think Lofton's approachable, and then you got to go back and figure out if there's somebody else out there that makes sense. OT, maybe another quick wide receiver, if you don't get Terry. So that's where I would be looking.
Well, I mean, Lofton seems like, I don't think it would be a situation where you could just connect some dots on that one. And you could say, well, look where he's committed and look how that's gone. And look where, he goes to high school. And then you're like, oh, well, Nebraska's kind of been on him the entire time. The Florida State thing, I mean, I don't know. There's dominoes still to fall, I feel like, in that situation.
Brother, I'm telling you, I mean, if you look at the way that their games line up, I think they have 9 more games still scheduled. 3 games are against teams in the top 25. And, you look at the way they fared against some of those earlier games that weren't against top 25 teams. Man, I tell you, there should be some really nervous folks in Tallahassee right now about how that rest of that schedule could play out.
I would think so as well. Visitors for this weekend, anything that we should be watching, keeping our eyes on, or is there any at all?
Nothing wild, nothing crazy. We ran a visitor preview, I want to say on Wednesday, and it's like, you get Christian Jones back and Muberry and Terry, and you get a lot of Omaha guys in. But there's really nothing massive for this weekend. I think Jackson Carpenter is in, which is nice. I mean, Jackson has been there first 2 weeks. I don't think he was there last week. He's been nursing a hamstring. I just got the information, of course, that he played a little bit last night in Lincoln Southwest lost. So good to see him back out on the field, but mostly local guys, which is always nice. And that's really all that we could kind of expect for this weekend, but it went from 0 to about 10. So there's still some folks that'll be there tonight.
I was standing there last week as they kind of paraded by, and I thought, well, there's some real local flair to this one. With that being said, I mean, it was still a night game, and you get the advantages, Munson, to starting the season with all of these night games. I don't know. I feel like it's there. Maybe it's not tangible where you're gonna. Now the Colorado game was a kind of a separate deal, but I don't know. There's got to be some advantages to having these atmospheres, and I think it'll be a good one tonight too.
No, I totally agree. And I think that last weekend, I mentioned it in 3 and Out, I think what the interesting part about last weekend was, plus the 3 guys that came in against Colorado that didn't have offers, Nebraska hasn't made any new offers to 2026 guys. And they had some really, really, really great players in like Caden Green, the running back from Jenks, a 4-star guy. The Huskers must feel incredibly good about what's going on their 2026 board, because the no new offers to these group of athletes, particularly the non-committed, non-offered guys coming in from 2026 the last 2 weekends, that is a very, very, very telling data point to me. So I think keep a close look. I mean, we're going to always go back and take a look and see, like, the junior day, the elite junior day in July, to the first couple of weeks up to Colorado, and then maybe this last group against UNI, and say, man, that's the class was pulled together already by this point. That these guys were already there, and I think even Rutgers is going to have a couple guys that'll have a couple guys come in that are still top targets. Bonwell White and Harris will be there. Those are really top players at the wide receiver and the safety position for the Huskers in the 2026 class too. But I think it's been really telling that there hasn't been a lot of new offers to let the door.
One more thing, Munson, before we let you go, and Sean mentioned this today in his one of his pieces in Tunnel Talk, just about the Miami thing. So Ja'Cory Barney and Amari Sanders and Willis McGahee and Vincent Shavers, they're all here. Nebraska currently doesn't have anybody in the class of 2025 who's from the area, from the state of Florida. And then we pair that along with the Florida State thing. We pair that along with Florida, and that doesn't seem to be going in a very good direction either. Like I feel like we kind of hyper focus on whatever big city, every class. And for Nebraska, last year it was Miami. Is there any ground to be made there for Nebraska in that territory? Maybe not in this class, but I guess what can they do in that part of the country going forward?
Well, I mean, obviously they had that great coach connection and through Philip Simpson, and when Coach Simpson left to go to Florida State, and now obviously the Florida State theme has returned to our conversation here. It seems with the change in the rules too with the NCAA, and if you could get Coach Simpson back to Lincoln, and you could maybe rekindle those types of relationships you had down there. I mean, obviously, Coach Simpson coming directly from high school had maybe a little bit tighter of a net before, but now I think he can go back in there and rebuild things. I mean, it's really nothing different than like what Jamar Mosey, joining the staff. I mean, if Nebraska feels like they need to get into a couple of pockets, I mean, South Florida was very kind to Nebraska in the last year's class.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City so far, getting Isaiah in the class, maybe what they can do to kind of set things up in 26 and beyond. I think that those are going to be really good, nice little proving points to get a guy like Simpson back to Nebraska, up things up, and get him back on the field, get him to start help coaching, but open things back up again down there in South Florida and get some of those players back to Lincoln. They have plenty of things to point at. When it comes to the success of those players going to Lincoln and being successful.
They do.
So I think that evidence, when you have evidence and you can point to the guy that was responsible for getting him there, and then you get him on campus and you hear those guys tell those kids that are being recruited by Nebraska, that will really truly pay off.
But like, just for example, I mean, Barney, we're always looking for the guy from whatever, big city that Nebraska wants to focus on, or area of the country Nebraska wants to focus on. And then they come in right away and then they make an impact. Barney is like the poster child of that right now. You gotta, if you want to go in Miami, if you want to go in South Florida, you keep showcasing Ja'Cory Barney. That'll move the needle, I think.
No doubt. And Sanders is playing a role, and McGahee's playing a role, and obviously Shavers is playing a role too. I mean, all four of those guys, they're having something to do on the field this year for this team. And you're in the top 25, and big reason why, youth movement all the way back to the quarterback. So things are really setting up nice with Nebraska. Those four guys will be a big part of Nebraska's future.
All right, Munson, appreciate it. Enjoy the games tonight, and your kind of free reign of football wherever you'd like to take your eyes tomorrow and Sunday.
Quad box, don't have to worry about it tomorrow.
That's right.
There we go.
All right, Munson.
All
See
right,
ya.
man, have a good weekend.
That's Bryan Munson of HuskerOnline.com. You heard the beer crack open. You heard the grill start. There we go. We're off and running. All right, coming back, we'll talk to Brian Christopherson. We'll get into the sellout streak. But the game, right? There's a game.
You play to win the game.
There is a game, and it needs to be broken down. Brian Christopherson will enunciate T's when we return.
It's important.
On the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, Brian.
Brian Christopherson,
I gotta take this. It's Hap.
B. Rye, B. Rooney, drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry.
Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7 on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Friday night football. There was much consternation about this game over the summer.
What about the high school kids?
What would happen if Nebraska played a Friday night home game? Well, I think it's going to be a pretty good scene in there tonight.
Should be a success.
If it wasn't the 400th consecutive sellout, I still think it'd be a pretty good scene tonight. Turns out, when you're good at football and the fans think that their team is good at football, they like to go to the games even more. Brian Christopherson joins us now on the 42 Degrees Source Hotline. BC, would you agree?
Yeah, people like watching a team that is better than when they're not.
Yes.
It seems like they like to go to those games.
Good take. Once again, 2 for 2 on takes today, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Shohei Ohtani is good, and people like going to the games where their team wins. I think they're pretty solid takes. So on the atmosphere, what do you think it will be like in there tonight? Like you have this weird kind of combination, and by weird I mean mostly good, right? You have the 400th consecutive saw. You have this kind of different Friday night home game, and then you have the added, oh yeah, Nebraska's good, and it's a pretty big test for them. Like, what do you think we'll see tonight in terms of an atmosphere?
Yeah, I think if the oven was at like 450 degrees for Colorado, like 400 for this one, and like maybe Northern Iowa was like 275, something
low
like that.
Low and slow, the smoker for you and I.
Yeah, we're just letting it go for a bit. However, if this is more of a game, this atmosphere could rival the one from 2 weeks ago in a way, just for the fact that the crowd might be forced to be involved and affect this game for 3 to 4 quarters this time. So I definitely think it will be a crowd that arrives to the stadium knowing that this could be a fist fight and wanting to have a say in the outcome, and that's the way it should be. Nebraska football during the 400 game streak has won 324 and is going for 325, which seems like it'd be a nice, like,
solid number. Yes.
Nice looking number, 325 to 75. Like, so they need to achieve that just for a writer's purposes of enjoying that.
It's easy to remember, and it is a nice, it's not exactly a square number, but it's, the 25-75 thing matches up good.
Someone though can go, I didn't do this last night, and I was going to put a line in, and someone can go look it up in the media guide. I don't know if I will, but how many of the 75 losses have occurred, let's say since 2015, since post-Pelini? How many of those have occurred at Memorial Stadium? And it's going to be a higher number than anybody would want to see. All that in a roundabout way to make the point, here's a big opportunity to start this thing 4-0 for the season, but also at home. And I've always said, when we're talking like in March and April, like what's it going to take for Husker football to get back? Let's start by protecting your backyard. Make it one of those places where you do feel like you have that 10 to 14 point advantage where the other team feels it early on, and the nerves kind of get the best of them, and maybe they make a play sort of out of character for them just because of the crowd and the atmosphere. And I think, Shedeur Sanders, I think, kind of did that a couple of weeks ago with that pick, even though it was great defensive stuff. But I think that's what Nebraska's fan base can do tonight, and I expect they're going to bring it.
Is this the Dowdell game, or do we still see the mix? You'll see a little bit of a mix, obviously, but this feels like a heavy Dante Dowdell like emergence tonight.
Yeah, I kind of think so too. He had the 17 carry game against Colorado, but I suspect it could be an 18 to 20, rush game for him. Can he get to like 100 yards? Can it just be a deal where Nebraska's offensive line early on is establishing, 4 yards here, 5 yards there, and then those turn into 7 and then 10. So you're looking for that sort of drumbeat from the offensive line tonight. I do think Illinois' defense, as solid as they've been and as great as they've been with the takeaways with 9 of them and including 6 interceptions, I think the thing that people that cover them wonder about is how they'll stand up to a team that really can attack them with the run game. They've given up 123 yards rushing per game so far against lesser competition. I know Kansas is a good team, but maybe didn't want to run it as much as Nebraska will. So this is the type of night where I think you want Donovan Raiola's boys to really shine, and with that, you're kind of hoping Dante Daldell is that back who has some of those runs where a 2-yarder, what looks like a 2-yarder becomes like a 5 or 6 yarder, and if he can stack a bunch of those up, it's really going to help Dylan Raiola operate in just a down and distance situation.
I like how you just put that, because you mentioned it. This game's sort of been made out to be, hey, it's going to be a fist fight. We heard that a lot this week. The couple things though, they seem to be susceptible to the run, and I'm not sure that Illinois can really run it on Nebraska. They haven't really run it on anybody so far this year. They ran it for 79 yards in that win against Kansas on 34 carries. That's under 3 yards a carry. So like those if you do the matchups, like that's what Nebraska wants to do, right? They want to run the ball and they want to stop the run. Those two seem to match up very, very nicely for Nebraska in this game.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to know the numbers right away on what they were yards after contact, but that'll be a big tell in this one. Like, a year ago when Nebraska won out in Champaign, Matt Rule mentioned the Huskers had some explosive plays on offense, and Illinois had that special teams turnover to, I think, start the second half. But Nebraska only had 71 yards after contact in that game, which is just not good enough. So right. they need to get those extra yards. And on the flip side, of course, we heard it this week. Northern Iowa had 180 yards after contact. It was sort of an uncharacteristic game in the Tony White era here in Lincoln of leaky yardage. And I think there's a few things you can chalk it up to, and it's not necessarily a concern point. But this is the type of night where if you're a great defense, you go and show everybody it isn't a concern point. It was what it was last week. This is a defense that shows up when it matters. And if they can hold Illinois to, 85 yards after contact, like 100 less than last week, I think it's going to open up so many doors for how they can get to Altmaier and third down situations and all that. Because Illinois has not been a good third down offense so far. It's early in the year, but their data is not good. They're only converting at a 32% rate. So if you can get them in like 3rd and 7 and beyond, I think they're going to have a lot of trouble, even though they do have some gifted receivers.
Let me ask you this: through 3 games, where you've seen what Nebraska's put out there, and the opponents are included in this. You only have what you have to go off of. If you're trying to build a game plan and you have everything at your disposal and you're playing Nebraska, where do you attack? Like where do you feel like, oh, we can get some work done here? Whether it's we're talking about broad generalities, I guess, whether it's in the run game and the pass game or on the, what you're going to do on the defensive side as well. Like I'm basically looking for what's Nebraska's glaring deficiency at this point, and do they have one?
I don't think they necessarily do, but if I'm the other side and I want to test it out and see if I can find it, I would guess they're going to maybe try to look at Marquise Buford at that side opposite Tommy Hill, and I think Marquise is up to it. So that's not like my opinion that he can't handle his business. He's been around the block, but he's sort of in a different role. He's been kind of working at different spots, and he's getting more of that cornerback, dime type stuff. So, he might get tested, against like Pat Bryan or Franklin tonight, where he's got to make some really good one-on-one plays. And I think they might try to see what he's made of. It seems like teams are kind of shying away from Tommy Hill, which is why I say that. I think teams would maybe try to test Mekhi Bayer just because maybe to them he's a little bit, less known. But I happen to think Bayer is one of the best tacklers on this team and is probably up for it too. So it's a good question you ask, because I don't think Nebraska has like a just obvious weak link.
Right.
But trying to think of it from the other side of the fence, those are guys you'd want to see, like, okay, how do they respond? Like, if I can get some one-on-one matchups with these guys, what are they as good as the other guys?
And Rule mentioned this earlier in the week, and one of the things he said after the Northern Iowa game was, well, some of the stuff that we're doing when these games are in control in the second half is we want to just put more stuff on tape to distract other people from what we're going to do. And I think there's been some real value to that because through these 3 games against whatever competition, they've kind of said, hey, look, we can do this well. We can do this well. We can throw this at you. We can throw this at you. Like from that perspective, they made an efficient use of blowout victories in non-con, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, the most interesting thing tonight is if we do find ourselves watching a game with like 5 minutes left in the third quarter and it's 13-10, what type of Nebraska are we going to see on offense? What's Raiola look like in those situations? They haven't had that pressure on them yet. They've outscored teams. I just wrote the number down, but it's like 51-0 in the second quarter.
Yeah,
and I think it's 79-10 in the first half. Nebraska in the second half so far, it's been like 23-10. So these have just been sort of, they handle their business in the first half. Then you're just on cruise control. You like you said, you're doing some things where you're putting some stuff on film, letting young guys play. But maybe tonight's that night where that whole close game thing and the chasing 3 and all that comes into play. I don't know. And so that's the unknown with this team until we cross that bridge. I think Husker fans would be fine if we didn't cross it tonight.
Yeah.
But it'd be fascinating if we do to see what the answer is.
Got a prediction?
I think it's going to be hard fought, but I'll say 27-14. I think a 13-point win can be a tough win.
Sure.
And that's what I think it will be. I think Nebraska, as long as they are 1 turnover or less on offense, I feel really good about things. Unless it's as long they haven't had a multiple turnover game this year. So if they can keep from that, I just think they're a better team all around and will take care of it over the course of 4 quarters. But 27-14, an explosive play late to kind of put it away, and people really enjoy their Saturday of football watching if that's the case.
It will make for a nice fall Saturday. BC, appreciate it as always. We'll let you go, and we'll see you up there in a few hours.
Yeah, sounds good.
Brian Christopherson, Husker 247. So we'll do this in keys later, and I'll make probably a bad analogy and name my key a very weird thing.
Hell yeah!
But turnovers for Illinois are like their air. They need turnovers to breathe.
Okay.
They've lived off of them so far this year. They are +8 in the turnover margin already. They've turned their opponents over 9 times, which is second most in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So Nebraska's whole thing about not making mistakes versus them going to grab some things, there's going to be a rub there somewhere. But elsewhere, like if you look up matchup versus matchup, I just think that, and I guess we're not 100% clear on Nebraska. Like, can they really, really run the ball yet? But I don't know that Illinois really challenges that much in that regard. I think, they get a lot of credit because of what their reputation has been, but man, they're just a little bit smaller on the defensive line. I think they can be pushed around. So we'll see how Nebraska wants to attack that. And then I don't think that Illinois can run it on Nebraska. I don't think many teams can run it on Nebraska, but I especially don't think this team can. So that's where those receivers come into play a little bit. So we'll get to those things in the keys a little bit later on in the show. Don't forget, Sipple will join us today. Coming up at the bottom of the noon hour. Definitely will join us. Want to hear Memorial Stadium memories or whatever you guys have. Throughout the remainder of the show today, we'll preview, and it's a pregame for you pregame. What else are we going to do? We got to talk about the game. Preview for your preview.
Got to talk about the game. Got to talk about the football.
We'll come back with the odd news when we return. The Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
And now we've reached the point in the show where Josh Odson reads the peculiar, the bizarre, the comical, the odd news with Odd Son. Odd news, Odd Son. See what we did there? The odd news with Oddson.
Okay. Time for some odd news. The guys in my chat, on my friends group chat, are freaking out. They're talking about the beans again, Josh.
The beans?
I got a picture of beans again. It says it's game day, baby.
So,
and it's a picture of beans and a spoon.
What you're saying is
horrifying.
Last time around, one of your friend, an acquaintance in your group chat, ate a can of beans for lunch, and we made fun of him.
Yeah, same guy.
Vigorously.
Yeah,
on the radio.
Yep.
And that did not deter him from doing it again.
That is correct. In fact, it seems as if he's only eaten beans harder now.
So
he's now indignant about the bean eating.
Do we go harder?
No.
At him?
I think we just have to stop.
Okay.
But
I didn't know what the play was.
I'm still mad at it.
Definitely.
And I wanted you guys to know about it. All right, what do we got?
Connor, if I could pull the curtain back on this show just a little bit. You and I were at the Omaha Press Club last night.
Yes, we love the Press Club.
Had a couple of beverages, a couple of pops.
I had 3 to 5 Coors Lights.
Okay.
And 2 coffees.
Weird that you can't remember the number.
It was in between 3 and 5. That's all I could say. I don't know.
Brad Nessler is talking about.
Did he have Coors Lights?
His night out. Doesn't say what, but he was on the SI Media podcast this week, and he discussed his nights out with Bill Raftery. And in an effort to,
oh man, if there was like an auction and I could win this, hang out with Bill Raftery for a night, I'm spending my money.
It sounds like it would be a fun night because Nessler said, I think Raft, because despite the fact he's older than Ric Flair, I think he can hang longer than Ric Flair, who, even if you don't know anything about wrestling,
kind of an insane person,
you know that Ric Flair is, yes, an insane person who can drink a lot.
Yeah.
Nessler's unexpected answer. Still waiting to hear back from Ric Flair. I imagine he'll give a comment very freely because
I challenge Bill Raftery to a drinking contest.
That's definitely coming in. They'll air it on Netflix. Brad Nessler said, if it was a sprint, I'd go with Flair. If it was a marathon, I'd have to get ready for Raft. It seems unbelievable that the Nature Boy would be outdone by Bill Raftery, but I'm going with Raft. When Rick hears this, I'll hear about it for sure. Ric Flair is 75 years old.
I love that this is a story, first of all.
Bill Raftery is 81.
I am the one of the foremost enjoyers of Bill Raftery. I don't know what puts me ahead of the others, but I have admired that guy for a very, very long time. At some point in my life, I've referred to him as my grandfather.
Oh, my.
I think he's a lot of people's grandfather in a way. I love college basketball. And I love that Creighton has got to be, intimately involved in the stylings of Bill Raftery many times over the years.
Have you met?
Yes, but it was brief. Sure. And, it wasn't personal.
Sure.
I wish it was more. I wish that he would walk into the chai and he would see me and he would say, Connor, my grandson, how are you today? He's a tall guy.
Arms wide open for a hug. Tall guy.
He's a tall guy.
Struck me as short. I don't know why.
He's got a big presence.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like that, they can probably throw him down. No doubt. Mm-hmm. And he seems like the kind of guy that probably would have several and, you'd be sitting at a table at the bar or something like that. And all of a sudden he had stacked up like 14 beers and he was acting completely normal. We're like, Ref, where'd all those beers come from? Like, I just drank them all. Isn't that what we're doing? We're drinking, right? And then nothing would be different at all. He would have just consumed 14 beers.
I mean, he's just done it for 60 years now. is what it is. And I hate that phrase.
Man, I love that guy. I love that guy so much. I can't wait till college basketball season.
Okay, this next story.
This is going to ignite the J-Sker talk in the chat, by the way.
Definitely. This next story, very controversial.
All right. As controversial as Gary's comments while being a roaster last night?
Kind of. This could absolutely be me reading the room wrong.
Oh, no.
Because I read the quotes in this story and I laughed.
Did someone die?
No one died. But do watch out when you send your children to school, as folks in a Chesapeake, Virginia elementary school learned this week after reports of a weirdo photographer for school picture day surfaced. One of the teachers told a local news station, it's not sexual. Okay. I just want you to know, everyone to know that right now.
Of course. It's definitely not sexual.
No. One of the teachers was interviewed by a local news station and okay, so what'd the weirdo say? And she said, hey, reportedly he said, can I steal your identity and can I eat your soul? To which
totally not sexual.
To which the child replied, no.
Good answer.
Great answer, child. Just say no.
You were trained correctly.
The cameraman replied, what can I eat instead?
No.
And the boy replied, I don't know, noodles. Which I don't.
Also a good answer.
Made me laugh. Yeah. Good answer. And the photographer replied, demons don't eat noodles.
Okay. So how did this guy get into the school?
Great question.
Get him out. This is bad. This is not good.
Yeah. It was at that point where some adult stepped in and said, whoa, weirdo, get out.
Sal writes in on YouTube.
Hi, Sal.
Don't love this.
Should we hit the ejector on it? Was I reading the room wrong?
No, I don't think it was a bad story.
Okay.
It's just
odd.
Very odd. Yeah. It's maybe too odd.
Too odd. I had a feeling. Do you want to know what happened to Shohei Ohtani's 50th home run ball?
It ended up in outer space?
No. Well, yes. And once it came down, someone caught it. And
I guess that was his 51st. We embrace debate. Should he get credit for having such a great game when his third and 51st home run of the year and the three more RBIs, the 8th, 9th, and 10th RBIs of the game for Shohei Ohtani came off of a position player pitching in the 9th inning last night?
Oh, we will never remember that.
I don't think that counts.
Might be a tribute.
Shohei fraud. He's a bust.
A bust.
Some people are saying.
Yes. The
guy just lobbed it up there. I mean, seriously, if you're looking at a guy who's a generational dude, right? He's a gigantic man. He's 5 for 5, and he's already got 7 RBIs, and he's trending toward one of the best games of all time. Just serve one up. You're down 14-3.
Get yourself in the history book.
I'm serving it up. That guy served one up last night, and that's absolutely right. He is like
collusion.
Seriously, I don't know. I'm going to go back to the StatCast and see how fast. I think that was going about 68 miles an hour. It was a floater. Did you see it? Did you see the third home run?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Shohei's second one.
No, the guy caught it, and the Dodgers said, we would like that baseball. And he said, no, you will not get this baseball. You will never get this.
You will never get this.
Reportedly worth $500,000 at auction, that ball. I don't know what he was offered. I don't have the details.
Yeah.
I imagine.
I don't like how we have to do this every time.
Yeah.
I don't like how we have to do this.
I would like to know the offer that was made.
I would too.
Did you lowball him?
And
it's a Marlins fan, right?
It is your business, it is your fiduciary responsibility to get something out of that ball, right? And if you're trying to maximize, you're not going to let Shohei's representatives come up to you and say, "Hey, we'll give you a signed bat and a whatever for the ball." No, because you realize you could cash in for more. You realize that you could. I hate that this world has become so transactional. I hate that we've lost our boyish wonder like Herbie. But we have.
All right, I'm going to need more. I'm going to need more than an autographed bat because I'm going to sell that autographed bat and I'm going to want one for my house.
I hate that we have to sell. I hate that we have to sell stuff. Why does it always have to be about selling?
Why couldn't our employers just give us enough money to live, Connor?
That's a fair question. Why can't Biden lower the prices of things?
I know. Chips are $6.
So are you blaming Biden for this? Are you blaming the libs? If the libs hadn't raised prices so much, then people wouldn't have to go to baseball games looking to capitalize off of baseballs and bats.
I bought a $4 ticket to a Marlins game in the hopes of catching Shohei Ohtani's 50th home run ball.
If the libs wouldn't have priced everything so high, then I wouldn't have to have started a life-wrecking baseball card obsession that I'm opening up hundreds and hundreds of packs a day, and it's costing me thousands of dollars just for the shot that I could get one very unique card that I could sell on eBay for $50,000.
That's right.
If the libs hadn't raised the prices on all of the stuff, that wouldn't even exist.
Those are the hidden costs that they always talk about. Yeah. Finally, Connor.
Oh, there's another one.
Well, yeah, I hit the ejector on Weirdo Photographer.
Okay.
The Toy Hall of Fame finalists are here. It's a day we look forward to twice a year on the Connor Happer Show.
Game day and the Toy Hall of Fame in one.
The Strong National Museum of Play have released its 12 finalists for induction into the National Toy Hall of Fame this year. They include balloons.
Okay, that seems like an obvious winner.
Pokemon cards.
Definitely.
Transformers.
Like, what do you mean?
Transformers.
The toy?
Yeah, the toy.
I don't know. I think of the movie more than the toy.
Okay, well, you know the movies were based on a successful line of toys.
I didn't know that.
Oh, okay. Choose your own adventure books.
Yep.
Not a toy, but great.
Yeah.
Great fun.
Definitely a thing.
Hess toy trucks.
Oh, finally! After all these years, I am the only person that I know who has a Hess truck collection. I am the only person that I have ever met who has this. And finally, it gets recognized as a real thing. I always tell people, I don't know what you guys were doing, but I was collecting Hess trucks and I was watching SWAT cats, and nobody else says that they had that experience at all. I had a very unique childhood.
SWAT cats debuted on 9/11. Chance, I know you're watching. That one was for you. It's a real fact, though. Look it up. My Little Pony.
Okay.
RC cars.
Nick.
Stick horses.
Have we told people about Nick's new
I don't
obsession?
know if we've told people on the radio.
So Nick is a special boy, and he has bought himself an RC car for his office.
Multiple. Hey, I'm too busy to do the logs, but I'll zoom around an RC car. You cope with your workload however you cope with your workload. I'm just making fun of Nick.
Texter says, OMG, STFU about your libs BS. I'm kidding. Jeez. Gosh.
I think if you've listened to this show before,
it was a joke.
You understand where we're at on the issues.
It was a joke. It was a joke.
There's more. There's more.
Oh, there's more to the story. Okay.
Oh, do you have more texts?
Yeah, I have more text, but keep going.
Stick horses.
Oh, yeah, that's an obvious one.
A hobby horse, I believe it is called.
So I think we're still in the stage of the toy Hall of Fame where we have to let in the greatest of all times.
Three more. The card game Sequence.
Yeah.
Apples to Apples.
Yeah.
And Phase 10.
That seems borderline. So does Sequence, to be fair.
Members of the public can vote for their favorites in the Player's Choice ballot online through September 25th. So not a lot of time to vote for these.
I remember when Trouble got in last year. I was pretty excited about that.
That was a big one. Long awaited. The inductees will be announced in November.
Oh, good. So we'll check out on this in a couple months. Jason Siegel, mispronouncer, writes in.
Jason Siegel, mispronouncer.
Do you remember that bit?
I do.
We were arguing for many minutes about how to pronounce Jason Siegel over the air. He was wrong. Can't get over the demon photographer guy. That's going to stick with me for the rest of the day. There you go, Josh. You're scaring people now.
Wait. Scaring people? The way you read it, it sounded like he enjoyed that story.
I don't know. I don't know.
Can I eat
It's
your
just another
soul?
fear for parents.
Can I eat your soul? No.
You could eat
Well,
noodles.
what can I eat? I don't know. Noodles? Demons don't eat noodles. What an odd interaction
It is an odd story, that's for sure.
between any two people, let alone an adult photographer and a child.
A couple takes on childhood. From this one's from Jay Marshall.
Hi, Jay.
My 7-year-old son gets a Hess truck every year for Christmas. A tradition started by my wife's late grandmother. Dude, same. I didn't know that they were still making them.
People love the Hess trucks.
I don't know if they. I didn't really love them. I just got them for Christmas every year, and I was excited to have them because it was a collection. Jeremiah writes in.
Hi, Jeremiah.
I respect your childhood. Didn't have the same one, though I had WWF and too much sugar. Boy, I was fat and happy.
Hell yeah.
I had SWAT cats and Hess trucks. Michael writes in.
Hi, Michael.
Wasn't Nick so poor that he had to reheat day-old Taco Bell, but now he's wasting his money on RC cars?
That's right.
Jason Siegel, mispronouncer, follows up.
Oh, no.
I did not enjoy the story, Josh. Libs hiring demon photographers.
That's why they should be allowed to choose where they go to school.
Venmo Chris. I work
Venmo
with
Chris.
multiple adult men in their 40s who race RC cars competitively. It's like a serious thing. Leave the boy alone or don't. I don't care. We're not going to leave him alone, just for the record. All right. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, everyone.
What a great series of stories we had there. We are back after this on 1620 The Zone.
He does it the only way he knows how. With his massive sports brain sprinkled with a smidgen of rabble-rousing. Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
I thought they were going to talk about sauerkraut in my bucket.
Or your underwear.
Yeah. Welcome back. Noon hour, the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Steve Sipple will join us in just a little bit. Indeed. Maybe we can hit him with a little
Pineapple.
Yeah. Oh, a little low there, Sipple.
Pineapple.
Thank you.
You want to project that pineapple to the back row.
We only have like 2 drops basically on this show. It's
Pineapple.
and
Dylon.
That's it.
Yeah. We should probably do something about that.
We should. I want to click these buttons. I want to click these buttons some more. All right. So like I said, Sipple's going to join us in just a little bit, and yes, he will join us. He has guaranteed me an appearance today.
Whoa.
I know. What?
Major news in college football. This from the desk of one Brett McMurphy.
Is this about Connor Stallions?
No.
Oh.
NIU is adding a jersey patch for the remainder of their 2024 season.
Northern Illinois University.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who is a company that could be associated with Northern Illinois University? I don't know what kind of stuff that DeKalb, DeKalb.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't there a company called DeKalb?
Oh,
isn't it DeKalb? Whatever. That something hard working. Something like something that makes some wrenches or something.
No. Jersey Mike's.
Okay, that's not where I was headed.
No.
Jersey Mike's is taking over the world.
That's right.
They're everywhere.
You knew it had to be some type of bit, right?
Jersey Mike's Arena is the artist formerly known as the Rack. And now
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm still going to call it the Rack. Sorry, Jersey Mike's. But wow, a Jersey Mike's logo on NIU's Brigham Field at Husky Stadium for the 2024 season.
That's what you get when you beat Notre Dame. Everybody wants to be a part of it.
Now the question is, and we're going to start seeing this here in a mere few minutes, when the media starts, making their way down to Memorial Stadium, will there be an 1890 logo today?
I was thinking about this on my drive in, actually.
You were?
I was.
Where'd the thought take you?
Was it on the field for the Colorado game because it was the Colorado game, or because it was on NBC?
Do you think it had something to do with NBC?
Big network, lots of eyeballs.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. The thing is, I don't know why. If it's going to be the only logo there the entire season,
keep it there.
You're only selling it to the 1890, and maybe you're not even maybe you're just giving them the space. And that makes it even more so. Like if you're just giving them the space, we know how Mr. Yogurt feels about 1890. He's very team 1890.
Sure.
He's always wearing 1890 stuff. He's like, I love this. This is awesome. We need to support this all the time. So I would think that they probably just, say, hey, it's a win for you, so it's a win for us. Let's put this out there. Just keep it there. Don't go through the pain of erasing it and then having the robot come back out and put it back down again if it's going to show up.
Why are we going through all this rigmarole?
Yeah, seriously, you're making the robot work too hard.
You're not going to rotate different companies in that space.
That's what I'm saying.
It's going to be 1890 or nothing. So just have it be 1890.
Yeah, I agree. We're handshake memed on this one, Josh. Good. I want to read you something from the College Game Day kickoff. So this is ESPN does this on their website. Like they go through a couple of different stories in college football. It's like the written version of College Game Day.
Oh,
it's kind of cool, So instead of like Rinaldi or whatever, it's just words
we know Rinaldi doesn't work there anymore. Shut up, people.
But they still do good stuff on Game Day.
They still make me cry. One story a week.
This it's a good story about Pat Bryant, who Nebraska will be facing tonight. One of the better wide receivers in the Big Ten. This is a story from Adam Rittenberg, and there's a lot of stuff about the hardships that he's had in his life. He comes from the Jacksonville, Florida area, And, he was waiting for that Florida offer. Never got it. He committed to Illinois in June of 2020, essentially sight unseen during the height of the COVID pandemic. But in December, just before the end of a delayed and shortened season, Illinois fired Coach Lovie Smith. The first high school signing day was just 3 days away. Wide receivers coach Andrew Hayes Stoker called Bryant and encouraged him to sign anyway, which he did. 3 days later, Illinois hired Brett Bielema to replace Lovie Smith. When Bryant finally visited Champaign, there was some confusion. What do you think they were confused about, Josh? A man coming from Florida. Coming to the Midwest for the first time.
The temperature?
Quote, I flew in thinking the University of Illinois was in Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I got off the plane. We got in an Uber. They're taking us to the dorm, and I'm just waiting to see the big buildings.
Oh, no.
And I see the cornfield, and then I see the next cornfield. I was like, there's no way. But I adapted to where I was. Great college town, says Pat Bryant.
Okay.
He worked through it. I do think so. We've talked about this oftentimes before. Like Nebraska is a school where this comes up all the time, right? I don't know what I was expecting, but really in the back of my head, I was expecting a lot of cornfields and nothing. You lull people to sleep with the idea that you are in the middle of a cornfield and there's nothing here. And then when they get off the plane, all of a sudden they're like, oh, this is a town. There's people. They're just like you and me. This is amazing. It's kind of like enter place that I'm from. It's lowering expectations. It's lowering the bar and then going back up. In the case of Pat Bryant, he thought that the University of Illinois was located in Chicago. And then he was surprised to find out that there wasn't any big, tall buildings in Champaign, Illinois. It was just a nice little college town. But then he found his routine. He says, Bielema says on Bryant, quote, he lives a routine every day that gives him an advantage. We talked about how he's in the building by 5:15 a.m. He doesn't have to be checked in by 6:30. It's just an awesome thing to witness. He knows where he's at. He knows how to take care of himself. Unfortunately, he's had some tragedy in his life, and it helps motivate him for the future. And so it's a good little blurb there from Rittenberg, and that's the guy that Nebraska's going to be having to defend tonight. One of them, anyway.
I'm rooting for him to have
Josh,
a
Nebraska hater,
decent game. Not a good game, not a great game. Just
all of a sudden they start doing these stories again, these profiles of other teams, and Josh gets suckered in every time. Josh will watch College Game Day in the morning. You'll see this story about the worst person you could imagine, but then the story will be like how he's like not that bad of a guy, the worst guy.
Dabo Swinney.
But the story is he's kind of a good guy, and he's got this special bond and relationship with like ex-kid or something like that. And Josh is like, damn it, they got me.
Hey, honey, did you know Dabo Swinney invited the kids over to his house for dinner? What a guy.
We'll get into our keys of the game a little bit later. Bryant is a part of this. I think that's where Illinois is going to end up having to make a lot of their money tonight. And by money, I mean yards. Skrilla.
Yes.
They're going to have to make a lot of their Skrilla in the pass game because I don't think that Illinois can run it on Nebraska. We'll get to this in the keys, but I think, they ran it 34 times for 79 yards against Kansas. They ran it for 137 last week against Central Michigan. And I just, you wonder about how long they're going to run it into the brick wall if they'll stick with, like, I think as much has been made out of this game being physical and fist fight, and it's Big Ten on Big Ten, it's going to be a real, like, Rule had the weird comment this week where he was asked about, hey, what do you think about the offensive line so far? And he was like, I don't really know. We'll see, I guess. I think it's a challenge to everybody, right? Everything that Matt Rule says is a challenge, I think, to his players now.
Yeah.
They're just trying to keep them motivated and sharp any way they possibly can. But I think a lot has been made about this game being a fist fight. And I actually think it'll be a lot more like Colorado than it is like Northern Iowa. in the sense of the styles that were being played. I don't think Illinois will be as quick to abandon it as Colorado was.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Nebraska will have the type of edge they played with against, they'll have an edge tonight, but nothing like it was against Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So it might turn out a little bit differently, but I do think that's where Illinois is going to have to go to get their Skrilla, to get that cash.
I just looked at their offense and I just saw kind of blah.
I know.
Kind of blah.
I just don't like the main point of this is I just don't know if they're that good.
Yeah.
I just don't think that team's that good.
I think
I think they're ranked because they beat a ranked team and
Uh-huh.
it was a nice game.
Mhm.
And I think Kansas has kind of been proven to be a bit fraudulent.
Sorry, Mike.
Which Mike are we apologizing to?
Mike in the chat.
Oh, Mike Chandra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, but a little fraudulent.
Mhm.
I don't know what's going on with Jalen Daniels, offensive coordinator, quarterback thing. I don't know what's going on over there. It's not your fault, Mike.
Something quite not right over there.
And so Illinois took advantage of that.
yeah.
They got a bunch of turnovers. They need turnovers to breathe.
Mhm.
And I just think Nebraska is a team that, I mean, they've turned it over twice this entire year. Once was on a deep ball that, frankly, the wide receiver should have caught, and the other one was a meaningless fumble against UTEP. And just a fumble. Fumbles are going to happen. So, like, if Nebraska, like, if you're giving me the key stats and just say, if this happens, then Nebraska will win. If Nebraska goes positive in the turnover margin, they'll probably win the game. And if they run the ball for 200 yards, like, they're going to win the game. If they run it for 180, they're probably going to win the game. There probably is ways they win if it's significantly lower than that. But, like, those are the couple of things that I'm sort of looking at. It feels more and more as we get closer and closer to it like a take care of business game for Nebraska, rather than this is a huge Goliath on Goliath like fist fight that we have to deal with tonight. I hope the energy matches what I just described, like the big time ranked unranked, like this is it's time. I hope the energy matches that tonight, but I just don't think the quality of the game will. I think it's going to be another situation where Nebraska is probably up on top and they're nursing a lead in the fourth quarter. That's the way I feel about it right now. John and I had our bet earlier in the week. Remember this, Josh? We had a little side bet earlier in the week.
Side action?
Nebraska is in control in the fourth quarter, or starting the fourth quarter. I think that's the parameters that we set out. Nebraska's in control at the start of the fourth quarter. I really believe that. I believe that tonight.
That's where I've come out on this game as well. Spoiler alert.
I hope I haven't talked you into it.
No, I went with my eyes, my heart, and my gut.
You're not to be influenced by outside things, right?
Nah, just College Game Day video packages.
Just Rinaldi
with soft music.
Heath has a key.
Hi, Heath.
I feel like if Nebraska scores more points than Illinois, then we will probably win the game. Interesting.
Certainly a way to look at it.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. That's a good stat to watch. Good stat to watch tonight. So far, speaking of points, Nebraska outscoring its opponents 102-20 this year.
That's good.
Do you think Illinois, Josh, can match?
Do I think they can score 100 points tonight? No.
Do you think that they could score 20, which is what combined in 3 games opponents have scored on Nebraska?
Don't love that. I do not have them scoring that many tonight. I have my score. I have it locked in behind me. I will not reveal it right now. But
our predictions are sacred. People forget.
Yeah, that's right. I don't have them scoring 20 points. It is possible. I won't rule it out completely.
If Rinaldi did a piece about how important it was for them to score 20, would you be like,
And happening. That's when Altmaier got the call that changed his life forever. Oh, 4 touchdowns tonight.
What do you think? I heard Brando on Unsportsmanlike Conduct yesterday. He was very good, by the way. That's a guy who really, truly loves college sports and also does a really good job of, ushering in the next era of young broadcasters and has taken pride in that. So But
Nick Baugh.
He is most famous around here for saying that Scott Frost is the next Nick Saban. So what sort of bold proclamation will he be making about Matt Rule this evening?
I don't know.
He's the next what? Scott Frost? What if he went negative? He said, I don't know about this. Welcome to Lincoln, Nebraska, the 400th consecutive sellout. You better enjoy it now, because next year there'll be nobody here.
Fool's gold as a Dave Aranda wannabe roams the sidelines.
I think he should do that. I think it should go Oppo. Speaking of broadcasters for tonight, we wanted to send our best to Greg Sharp. He will not be on the call tonight on the Husker Sports Network. He's been in quite the battle here with cancer over the last several months now. We wanted to send him our best. It'll be Bill Dolman on the radio tonight for the Nebraska call. But man, I've bumped into Greg over the last couple weeks, and it's hard to see him, right? And you see him, and I'm like, well, because the normal natural thing that you ask people is, how are you? How you doing? And I know that it's how well can you be doing?
It's a different question now.
In his
right?
shoes, right? And he has always said, each of the times he said, you know what, I'm doing all right. And that's a guy who has some great perspective. And so it's a shame that he'll have to miss this one in a great atmosphere tonight. We look forward to seeing him back in the booth very, very soon. I look forward to seeing his smiling face the next time we get to see him at Memorial Stadium coming up. All right, let's take a break. Steve Sipple is going to join us on the other side. He will join us on the other side on 1620 The Zone.
Steve Sipple,
The conversation gets even more uncomfortable, okay?
Omaha!
Steve Sipple on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
And we are joined now, the 42 Degrees Thesaurus Hotline, by our dear, dear friend, Stephen M. Sipple of HuskerOnline.com. Sipple, good afternoon. How are you?
Good. Happy game day to you guys.
Happy game day to you as well. What's a Friday? What's the day look like for a Friday night game for Stephen M. Sipple?
God, it's odd because it's all. I mean, it's funny you ask because I was sort of just thinking about that. It's different than any Friday that I can remember, because it's novel is what I'm getting at. I'm doing things that I wouldn't do on a Friday usually. Like I took a winter. You asked me the question.
Yeah, I know. I want whatever's going to come out of your mouth right now. This is good.
I took a winter coat to the cleaners. To get it ready for the winter. It needed a button on there and it needed general cleaning. And I was amazed to find that they actually will sew the button on there.
Of course they'll sew the button on there.
Well, I don't know things like that. But so that was a happy occurrence. I'll probably take a little nap here.
Wow.
Then I have a show this afternoon that I'll do prior to the game.
Yeah. You're on it. What? Like probably 4?
Yeah, in that neighborhood. I got to go to a tailgate. I promised someone I'd go to a tailgate before.
Oh, you got to make appearances.
I got to go to a tailgate. I would not call that an appearance. It's just going to a tailgate.
You want to throw it back like the old days, and we can walk to the stadium together?
Well, where are you?
I don't know. I could be wherever. I'm coming down to Lincoln right after the show.
Well, you know what we could do, because Nick Sainer.
Yes.
You're double, by the way.
He hates that, by the way, so keep saying that.
Nick, so if you would come by, and now you don't have to do this, but if you want to, if you would come by the ticket at 4:20, then we go to the Kindler Hotel. Then we would go to the Kindler Hotel and pick up Nick, where he's got radio obligations, and then we'd walk to I'm doing that. I mean, I'm going to get Nick. Yeah.
All right. I might be able to squeeze myself into your plans. Who knows? I don't know what this afternoon might hold for me too. Like you said, it's very novel. It's different. I will not go to the embroidery or wherever you went to get my coat.
No, it's
dried.
Williams Cleaners. There's no embroiderer.
Well, I mean, you got the button sewed back on there. I don't know.
I haven't gotten that yet. It's going to be cleaned. And there'll be a new button on it. It's a coat that I've had for years, but I still get a lot of compliments on it. I want it to look presentable because I started looking sort of homeless this year. It had never been clean, and there was a button off. So you can imagine it didn't look that good.
All right. Well, I'll keep you updated. I'll send you a couple
emojis.
Send me a text.
All right. Yeah, a text. That'd be good.
Okay. Nebraska hasn't had a ranked game at Memorial Stadium since 2013 UCLA. This is the first time this occurrence will happen. Does it feel like it? Do you have the big game feeling in your tum-tum today, Sipple?
I've heard you guys say tum-tum, and it makes me laugh every time. Happer, there's a clear answer in my mind to that question. Every game feels big.
Yeah, you always say that. I know. It is.
It does. I mean, this is game, and unfortunately, sometimes every game feels big if you lose it. If Nebraska loses it, then it feels enormous. I wish it felt more like. I wish we'd get more. Oh my God, that's a huge win! It feels incredible. We haven't gotten enough of that lately. We used to get it quite a bit. But does it feel like a ranked on ranked? No, I don't. I would say because it's on Friday night, it kind of feels bigger to me because it's national. It's on national TV. It helps that the head coach of the visiting team is a high profile head coach. I'm trying to work my way into. Yeah, it feels like that. Probably come up just short.
Well, yeah. If you have to convince yourself, then you have your answer, right?
Right. I think I'm coming up just shy. Although I do feel it is a big game for Nebraska. I don't know how Illinois looks at it, but Nebraska. I think I think you guys, the tone of your show, the tone of most shows around here, that it feels like Nebraska's on the rise, as a program.
Yeah.
I will feel that way, win or lose, but it's always good to get tangible evidence. And this would be tangible evidence if they're able to win this game.
Something or nothing. Earlier in the week, Rule's comments about, he was asked about sort of like a status update on like the offensive line and how he feels about that group 3 games in. And he said, and he kind of just, I'm paraphrasing, I guess, but he said, basically, we'll see. You're going into the most important part of where you find out the answers to those questions right now. Do you feel like that's a message to that group, or is it like a reality of, there's some things that we don't know and some questions that we're looking to get answers to?
I feel that it's more reality based. The stats are really good. They've not technically allowed a sack. They've only allowed 1 hit. They've only allowed 9 hurries. But to me, watching the games, it doesn't feel like that. I still feel like that group has something to prove. And I think that it's also a nod to the Big Ten, and it's a nod to what this line will look like compared to UTEP's and Colorado's and UNI's. I thought UNI had a better defensive line than UTEP. Probably maybe more physical than Colorado. So they just haven't seen what they're going to see in the Big Ten. And that doesn't mean Illinois is great up front, because
I was going to say that too. Like I don't know that tonight's a great example of that.
Well, it's not a great example, and that only kind of drives home my point even more. They're not a great defensive line by Big Ten standards or even by Illinois standards, but they're better than what Nebraska's seen, and probably much better.
Yeah,
so it kind of drives home the point. They'll be longer and bigger and tougher, and it'll be a Big Ten fist fight. Now, if Nebraska doesn't move these guys a little bit, then you kind of, you look at the season a little different. So that's a huge part of it, because they're going to come up against much better defensive line.
Let's flip it over to the defensive side then, in the trenches. Like, you look at that group, and are you at the point now with that group where you say, regardless of the competition, I feel good about what Nebraska's front seven is going to bring to the table?
God, pretty close. Yeah, now that you mention it, pretty close. And that's why. But the reason I hesitate is because of last week. I mean, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill any more than you do or anybody does. But that first drive, and then it wasn't just the first drive. It wasn't just the first drive. That's the thing I would counsel people on. UNI is a scrappy physical program, notoriously. So I guess I shouldn't have been that surprised, but I was early in that game. How much success UNI was having at the point of attack, and then they had some success later in the game at the point of attack. So I'm kind of watching that tonight. I think it bears watching. I think Rule had a pretty good explanation for it, and that is Nebraska showed up physically ready for the game last week, mentally ready for the game, not necessarily emotionally ready, and that's I understand. Colorado was an enormous night for everybody, so that's why every week you see variances in the way a lot of teams play.
I asked the same question, or I guess a variant of it to BC earlier. Sipple, is there an area of Nebraska's game, what they've put out so far in their 3 games, that you'd be like that your response to what they've put out is, boy, I'm not sure how that looks. I just think that's an area where other teams can attack. I'll give you my answer. Like, the first thing that came to my head is probably the special teams. I don't know how you attack that, but it could be a glaring issue I guess, going forward? Is there a space to you where you feel like Nebraska is more deficient in than the others through 3 games?
I don't think they're really vulnerable anywhere. Not even now. The kicker situation is the place kicker situation. The long snapper situation is imperfect, I guess would be a kind way to put it. So that's how I don't know if I would count that as an answer to your question. To answer your question, I don't see any market vulnerabilities. And that's why Joel Klatt thinks Nebraska is much better than number 22 in the country. I would have to be sort of disingenuous to answer that. I don't see it. I will say this. I want to see the running game. I want to see a little bit more from the running game.
Yeah.
I want to see them hammer people up front.
Don't you think tonight is a night where they really get back to that? You know, I think a lot of the first 3, especially with the second halves being the way that they have been, it's just kind of putting stuff out there. Like I would imagine Nebraska will hit that pretty hard tonight.
Happer, I'll believe it when I see it.
Sure.
And there's no criticism of Marcus Satterfield. I just don't know if he's wired that way. I don't know if he's wired. I don't know if he understands. I wouldn't expect him to understand Nebraska people. I mean, that's what we want. I think a lot of fans want that. Not everybody, but particularly older ones would just like to see him hammer away. But I kind of always want that, and I have to remind myself, well, not everybody thinks that way, and they got all these receivers, and they want to use those guys too. So
yeah, their quarterback's not bad either.
Right. So and so I don't know that that's what you're going to get. There's no quarterback run game. I don't know if you can just hand off and hand off and hand off. I don't know if that's going to work.
You have a prediction tonight, Sipple?
Yeah,
one button fixed on coat, but what else?
And I kept the button. I'm proud of myself that I did. I had the button to present to the lady. I didn't say, "Hey, there's a button missing," and
you got to fix it. Yeah,
a button that matches the other ones. Good luck. No, I had the button. So, I look forward. It's gonna be like getting a new coat.
Yeah, it will. Nice and clean.
Yeah, well, not for free. I guess they'll probably charge me $40 or $30.
Okay, so that and a score.
That and a score. I can't remember what I predicted for Husker Online. I think it's in the neighborhood of 24-17.
Okay.
I expect stress tonight. I think there'll be a stressful night at the stadium.
All right. Well, I'll text you in a couple hours and we'll get a status update and see where you're at.
Please do, Hap.
All right. See you later.
Thanks for having me on.
Anytime. Steve Sipple of HuskerOnline.com. Glad he's getting that jacket worked on.
I loved that he started to tell the story, pulled back and said,
he's like, you don't want this. And I'm like, yes, I do.
That's the exact thing we want.
Aaron writes in on that last question there.
Hello,
not about the buttons. Do Nebraska fans even think that way anymore? I think so many see a 5-star quarterback talent and don't always think it's hammer away. If they can hammer away. But man, it's hard to say, sorry, young Dylon, you're only going to throw 17 times this game. I don't know. Maybe I guess we have different interpretations of like what hammering away is. I just think I would expect Nebraska to get established there tonight. That's all that I mean. Not for them to run it 80% of the time and throw it 20. Like they always are going to want to achieve balance because they have good wide receivers and they have a good quarterback. Mm-hmm. I don't view Nebraska straying away from the run in a game where they're running it well as getting cute. I would view that as offense. Like, I just think that's good. But I just would expect Nebraska to be good on the ground tonight.
Win the game. I don't care.
You don't care how it looks?
This week, yeah, maybe you run it 70% of the time. There's going to be a game where Dylon throws it 70% of the time. I don't care. I know Matt Rule strives for balance.
Alex in Lincoln says, hopefully you could text him and his phone isn't on airplane mode. Sometimes maybe after that nap, I don't know, maybe he won't get out of airplane mode.
You have to account for that.
Ken writes in on YouTube. He says, The rest quarterback is 74% completion rate. I'm chucking it all over the yard right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know about chucking it all over, but you trust the quarterback to do pretty much anything at this point.
Just avoid the ball hawks.
I'm just glad we got the Sipple button story. That's all that I really
kept
need.
the button.
It's all I really need today. It's good. And that was the best. And I didn't just say, here, fix this. I had the button. It's amazing that he had the button.
Oh, yeah, big upset.
All right. We'll come back. We'll run out the noon hour. I'd like to explain a trend in gambling that I hate.
Okay.
Yep. There's a tease for you. A couple other things, of course, keys and peas at the top of the hour. Back after this on 1620 The Zone.
let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Here comes the clown.
Football coming up in 6 hours. It's a pregame for your pregame.
TikTok.
We still got an hour left in the pregame for your pregame, and then the pregame starts and then the game.
Need Will Compton here to shout at y'all.
That's what your next 6 hours look like before you rumble and bubble and stumble into Memorial Stadium for what Steve Sipple is calling a stressful night.
I expect stress.
It's been a lack of stress afternoon for Stephen M., who got his coat fixed. Congratulations to him.
Amazing that he had the foresight to be like, you know what? It is September 20th. It's 90 degrees out right now. Why don't I look ahead?
Seriously, he must have some real time on his hands today. I would have never thought about that until it got 32 degrees no moment sooner.
On a game day, no less.
All right, so here's a Mike, gambling Mike or anti-gambling Mike.
I would assume.
Listen up.
Relatively anti.
Not necessarily anti-gambling, but like anti-problem gambling. We got a problem gambling problem in our country.
Sure.
We do. So here's your next speech. All right. You can just copy and paste this, or you could use the tenets of this story to use in your next speech. This is infuriating to me. Josh,
Connor,
we've talked in the morning crossover many, many times about a certain somebody.
Herbie Husker?
No. She just started a podcast.
Nico Jenkins?
No.
Haley Welch.
That's right. The Hawk Tua girl.
Haley Welch.
The Hawk Tua woman. So she's very famous on social media right now. And one of the gambling entities, I won't say who, asked her to do an endorsement.
Sure.
And she did. She did on her Instagram. And so she put out her picks for the Thursday night football game last night. Once again, the Hawk Tua girl put out her picks for Thursday night and said, you can literally turn $1 into $1,000. WTF. In those picks, she went 0 for 8.
Of course.
This is a problem in our country. We need to be responsible about who we're listening to. And if you've been influenced by the Octua girl and gambling, it's time that you just have a better reason for getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. That's all I ask. I don't know if Mike would agree with any of the things that I just said, but this is a bad trend for our nation.
I have noticed this football season a rise in, and I don't even know how to explain it. People like Haley Welch and
the Hawk Tua girl.
There's no other way to say this. I apologize. I know there are many women listening to the show who love sports or know sports, but
yes, listen to the people who care about sports, not Hawk Tua girl. That's it.
People who are famous on TikTok and things like that who don't know about sports, who are like, I was told by FanDuel to make a pick, and I made a pick for the Eagles to have a better time at the game than the Packers.
Yeah.
And
it's brought to you by Enter Gambling Company here.
Yeah.
It's not so good right now.
They've got all the sports shows covered with gambling.
And you notice heard
they have to grow the business.
Well, you've heard you now hear the children talking about when I was in college, this was not a thing.
No.
Gambling was a thing. Obviously, the increased legalization of online legal gambling has really, really taken off since then. But this is now all the people in college talk about because they've been influenced.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to make something I'm trying not to do an overgeneralization here, but I really believe that this is true. It's not probably really good. it's not really good. Right.
I would agree with that. Probably not a good thing.
Not a great thing.
Definitely not a good thing if your state is so archaic that you're unwilling to accept the monies that come from the unresponsible behavior.
Sure, but I mean,
just because literally one man has said, no, not in my state.
They're going off to the influencers, and now they're making a bit out of how bad they are at betting, and then it becomes fun to follow, and then it becomes fun, and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, you're tailing the guy just out of nothing. Like, think about it. Think about the picks that you're making before you make the picks. I think a responsible gambler would heed that advice. Instead, we're getting influenced by the Hawk Tua girl.
Maybe
she's going 0 for 8 on her first night, and she got wowed she's wowing people with the idea that you could turn $1 into $1,000, which is a totally unfeasible thing to do.
Maybe you want to bet with somebody who, I don't know, got 61% of their picks right last year.
Maybe.
Against the spread.
Maybe. John asks, what does Hawk Tua girl think about Vanderbilt plus 19?
Diego Pavia, Jerry Kill.
This is not good. It's not good, Josh. That's all I wanted to say.
No, not great.
This is not good. And I hate to make Hawk Tua girl, who seems like a nice woman, she
seems lovely,
the face of all of this, but I have to use her as an example.
Yes. Mike on YouTube worded it better than I did. I was just going to say women, and he said, attractive women are being used to hawk, no pun intended, sports books.
They are.
Yes.
They are.
You said it as well. Influencers.
Yeah.
Because again,
just don't be easily influenced. That's all.
They've got all
responsible.
They've got all the sports covered. It used to be your uncle would come over for Christmas Eve and he'd pull you aside and he'd go, "Hey Josh," or whoever, "Hey Josh, who do you like in the Holiday Bowl tonight?"
Yeah, but they're not covering it. They're just saying stuff. Like, it's
they're just saying stuff. My uncle used to ask me who I liked in the Holiday Bowl,
and you'd have a reason why, right?
And I'd win for him.
Here's the deal: Tim Beck is about to air this sucker out. He's about to throw that thing around the yard. Nebraska's going to lose by 3 in the Holiday Bowl. That's probably what you said, and you were right.
The Hawaii Bowl also. That was a big one in our house.
Texter writes in, "Thanks for the gambling advice. I'll just start betting on the opposite of the Hawk Tua girl and make tons of money."
That's certainly a play. Turn $1 into $1,000
just by fading me completely.
Listen to our new show on 1620 The Zone, Fade Hawk Tua. It runs from 8 to 8:05 when the sports schedule allows.
Wow, Hawk Tua had a good week. Guess we were wrong. Josh, you have any comment on Aaron Rodgers not taking kindly to hugs?
I have seen this clip.
What do you think? Do you think this is a mountain being made out of a molehill?
Probably, because it's New York, it's Aaron Rodgers, it's the NFL. Yes, but also he seems to really not like that man.
He admitted this week on, I think, was it Joe Rogan's show, that he played some football games on the Perks.
Oh,
yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah. And people were guessing that it was the one time he came back into that game and then randomly developed a country accent afterwards. And he said, "My knee, my knee." People were just guessing that was the game.
Maybe that tracks.
Yeah, they were guessing.
Asian Joe says, "Fade Hawk Tua, bet on that thing." All right, that's pretty funny.
Yippee says, "I wouldn't like Saleh. Dude seems weird."
He does seems like I think bit of a try hard.
The amateur lip readers were out, and he was. I am considering myself an amateur lip reader in this case. I think he was saying, like, not yet. Like, don't be happy right now.
2 scores.
Yeah. Don't. No time for hugs yet. And I'm fine with that reaction.
I am too.
That's like a hardo football guy move, but I'm fine with that reaction.
I went so far as to think to myself, because I was like, oh, it couldn't be just that. Aaron Rodgers is much more calculated than that. That he had a preordained photo op planned when the Jets got up 2 scores. And Robert Saleh got the timing of it wrong.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Not yet. Next
yeah,
possession.
next one.
Uh-huh.
Next one. Jeff writes in, he says, I mean, Rodgers is famous for loving his head coaches.
True.
Something he's always done. Yeah. But to nobody's surprise, well, I mean, I guess only to Hawk Tua girl's surprise, the Jets stomped up Patriots last night.
Imagine taking the Patriots.
Patriots, still bad, guys.
Yeah.
I know they beat the Bengals that one time. Maybe that's more of a reflection on the Bengals. I'm just guessing. That's analysis you can't get from Hawk Tua girl. Sadly. I wish
Haley
you could.
Welch.
I wish you could. She didn't probably know. She didn't know that the Patriots beat the Bengals, but that it was fake news because the Bengals are bad. That's what people are missing. The Bengals are bad.
You got to look at the whole picture.
That's all we ask. That's all we ask.
Just like, gosh, it would be really, don't you think, Haley, it would be terrible if someone cherry-picked one moment of a team's life and kept replaying it over and over and over again for financial gain?
That's the bit she should have done.
Yeah.
I'll
produce Talk Tua.
Odds? Do we have odds for this? Speaking of problem gambling, do we have odds that she shows up on SNL in the first 2 weeks?
Ooh.
Or has that star faded?
I think the window has been
SNL
missed.
starts back tomorrow, right? Or is it next week?
No, I believe it's next week.
Okay. And they had a host that I had never heard of before.
The lead from Hacks.
Never heard of that either.
Jean Smart. She's a well-accomplished celebrity.
This is just a blind spot by me.
And musical guest, because of course, Jelly Roll. I cannot escape this man.
Yeah, that guy's everywhere. Will Hawk Tua be there though? And will she be on Weekend Update to make fun of herself, a la Caitlin Clark?
Okay, here's how it would happen if they're going to do it. Colin Jost tricks Michael Che into making fun of Hawk Tua girl, Haley Welch, and then she shows up.
Yeah.
That's
how it happened with Caitlin Clark, right?
Right. Same sort of thing. That's the window.
Speaking of Caitlin Clark, we got to get to that.
We'll get to it
before we end the show.
WNBA playoffs this weekend.
Well, we do have our keys and our piece, so we have no guarantees.
That's right.
The keys to the game coming up on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
He has the latest sports news, expert analysis, award-winning commentary, and a pocket full of cabbage.
Can you give us an indication why?
Just in case there's a sauerkraut emergency.
Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
I'm making a meme. A memer. So then I need to duplicate this. So during the break, Josh read me a stat. Josh, read the stat again.
Oh, okay. This is per Indiana football. And
of course, it's from Indiana football.
Per Pro Football Focus, Indiana, the only Power 4 team in the country with 0 dropped passes.
So my meme, you guys, here. If you're watching along with this on stream, I'll give you a preview of the meme that I'm making right now.
Free preview.
Look. There's Gabe from The Office. Shut up about the sun. No, shut up about Indiana.
Yeah.
Shut up about Indiana. I don't want to hear any garbage Indiana stats. I'm saving that one for later because somebody's going to be talking about Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
Who does Indiana play this week?
I don't know. Probably Rice or something.
Probably a garbage team. Charlotte. And they're going to win 86-0. And then people are going to be like, hey, Indiana's got a 38% chance to make the playoff. And I'm going to say, shut up about Indiana.
It's on BTN, 11 a.m. tomorrow. Tune in.
Disgusting. I'm sure people will. And they'll say, ooh, Indiana, this is awesome. This is great.
I'll report back on the Big and 60.
I'm sure you will, Josh. You're a sicko. You love Indiana. You're just trying to hide it from me.
They can sling it.
I got a prediction. So we'll make our predictions coming up in just a little bit here. Got a prediction from earlier from David.
Hi, David.
I'd like to read to you. If you're bold enough and you got a prediction, you're willing to lay your head out on the line just to have a prediction for the show, then we're going to read it. We're going to tell people, including the guy from Kansas State who might have to shove a burrito up his butt. Here's David.
Hi, David.
My prediction, the offense puts up 33. The special teams and or defense gets 7 more. Connor was a week early with his shutout prediction. Nebraska beats Illinois 40-0 tonight.
Big red overreaction would be something.
Choo-choo! Honk, honk. There would be so many trains.
That train behind me, it's the hype train, and it's leaving the station.
Yeah, I'd hop on that thing and ride it to wherever it takes me. Could I see it? Could I see that? Nothing. I can't do this again because then I'm just the guy who predicts the 0 every week.
Yeah. Bad spot to be.
But I do think Nebraska could get a little loose in this one.
SEAL Team Nick on YouTube.
He has said this all week too. Thank you, SEAL Team Nick.
It's going to be 56-0. Everybody else can shut the hell up. Wow.
Travis, put that one up there.
Yeah.
Read it, Josh.
Just wait till Tom Rinaldi does a story on Signetti or Indiana, and Josh will be Hoosier pilled.
You will be. That's disgusting. I can't believe you could be influenced that easily by
Maybe
Rinaldi.
I'm already there.
Chris Montana says 27-9 Huskers. 5 field goals made by both teams.
Wow. Okay.
Let's go.
Ken, who's been mixing it up in the chat today.
Yeah, Ken's been getting after it.
Prediction: Bielema isn't at Illinois at the end of the year.
Oh, like in a good way? Like he's at Florida or something?
Florida or Florida State. They might both be looking.
If Florida State hired Brett Bielema, that would be the funniest thing of all time.
Yeah, Florida State's about one thing, speed, and that's what Brett Bielema bring to the table.
Quite
speed.
Possibly funnier than Florida State trying to hire Deion Sanders, which I also don't think is happening. Theo says he's expecting trickery involving Harburg and or Mr. Barney.
Hello.
I've seen that. I've heard that floating around a little bit. You know, the Barney. Look, let's look at the obvious. They've run a lot of that jet sweep with Barney, and it's worked, right? They've gotten some yards out of it, and then he gets smacked going out of bounds, and then he pops back up because he's the rubber boy. I think that a variation of that is he, just stops dead in his tracks and hucks it down the field to somebody. Seems like it could happen. I don't know.
Pieces are in place.
Theo, I like that. Get that train rolling. All right. Keys to the game. Once again, I did these last night after I got back from multiple beers and hot coffees.
You did have 2 hot coffees.
2 hot coffees last night at the press club with I was bumping elbows. We were swanking it last night.
Hobnobbing.
Josh, I had a suit jacket on.
Mm-hmm.
You did not.
I was told business casual.
Business casual means a collared shirt and a suit jacket these days.
That's not what Google AI told me.
You could have thrown it. You could have thrown a blazer over that, and you would have been.
There were a lot of people with blazers over polo shirts.
Blazer over a polo is a look, man. I was doing that last night. That was me.
I didn't know this.
Blazer over a polo is here.
Didn't know that was an option.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah. All right. So once again, this is when I wrote these last night. I have not gotten back to checking them. I haven't read this since last night.
I love this.
So we'll see if this makes any sense.
I think we should do more. We should write more segments drunk. And
I wasn't drunk. I wasn't drunk.
And then let them lie.
I wasn't drunk
until the next morning.
This one is called HOTTOGO. Now, why did I call it that?
Hot to go.
Maybe because I just wanted to name a key this. That song is sweeping the nation right now. HOTTOGO. Are they going to play Chapel Roan? No is plus 150 tomorrow. But this is not about that song playing or not playing at the stadium. Feels like a hot start is important. Hot to go. That's why I came up with this. That's the connection. Each team's first offensive possession feels important to me. Nebraska has scored on its opening drive in each of its first 3 games. Those scoring drives have covered 72, 49, and 75 yards. Can Nebraska continue the same script they followed each of the first 3 games? If so, they may be able to run and hide yet again. I think an important start is a key. It's important. It's HOTTOGO. Key number 2. Cabin pressure.
You love planes.
I love planes. I love thinking about planes. I probably wrote this thing out last night and I thought, I want to watch Tom Hanks movie. But I didn't. I went to bed. Cabin pressure. You know when the cabin air pressure is too low on airplanes and the oxygen masks drop down?
I am aware of this phenomenon.
It has never happened to me, but it happens in movies sometimes. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so let's take this. Illinois is in the passenger seat. And turnovers are their oxygen mask.
Okay.
They probably do not survive, or they go into this weird kind of hazy state without the turnovers, aka the oxygen mask. The Illini have turned their opponents over 9 times so far this year with 6 interceptions. They are +8, an astounding +8 through 3 games in the turnover margin.
Hello.
Nebraska, when that mask drops down after the cabin air pressure's gone down, Nebraska needs to go to the seat where Illinois is sitting, row 17B, and just clip it. They need to cut their oxygen mask. I think this is their oxygen. I think they need turnovers to survive. I don't think Nebraska needs turnovers to survive, but obviously they can't play into their oxygen. If Nebraska turns it over, watch out. Because then then they're breathing, right? But if Nebraska's not turning the ball over tonight, I don't think they can breathe. The cabin air pressure has gone away.
You gotta we want to cut the oxygen.
Cut the oxygen.
In this case.
Cut the oxygen. No air for Illinois. And key number 3, dead end. I do not believe that this big bad Fighting Illini team can run it on the Cornhuskers. I don't think they can. They ran it 34 times for 79 yards against Kansas. They ran it 29 times for 137 last week against Central Michigan. So you wonder how long they will choose to run it into the brick wall. Once again, if this sounds like something that I said before the Colorado game, it's because it is. It's the same thing. I just don't know how long they'll stick with it tonight. And you know, if that ends up being the case, I think defending those good wide receivers becomes a little bit easier. And I think if Nebraska turns them into a one-dimensional football team, I like their chances. They need big defensive plays from they would need big plays and big days from Franklin and from Bryant on the edge and from Altmaier, the quarterback. And I just don't think that's in the cards if Nebraska's already shut down the run. Then you could start keying in on the pass rush game. All of a sudden, then you're getting sacks coming off the edge for guys like, James Williams and Cam Lenhart, and maybe you're even forcing it from up the middle as well. And that's where your defensive backs can get a little greedy as well and go grab some. Like, I think if they're not running the ball and they're forced to put it through the air, like, it probably is the thing where they're most comfortable, because I think they're better through the air than they're on the ground. But once again, if you become one-dimensional, Nebraska knows where it's going. They key in on that pass rush. They key in with the defensive backs, and all of a sudden they start getting interceptions. If Nebraska is positive in the turnover margin in this game, there's no doubt they're winning. I see no path. No path.
You heard it here.
If Nebraska's plus in the turnover margin, they are not losing tonight.
And I like the way our young baby Dylon.
He's a protector.
He has not.
He's holding that thing tight. Mm-hmm. He's hanging on to that thing.
Harm's way. No, thank you. I will not throw that over there.
A couple emails here. First from Zach.
Hi, Zach.
If Nebraska wins the game 40-0, the place will be a circus and Nebraska will move up into the top 15, but that isn't going to happen. But Nebraska will cover versus Illinois for the fourth time in 4 games this season. Nebraska 28, Illinois 17.
What does Haley Welch think of the game tonight?
I don't want to know. Also, John emails in.
Hi, John.
On business casual. Business casual most definitely does not involve a jacket.
Yeah.
So maybe everybody else overdressed last night.
Someone in the YouTube chat agreed that, yeah, you don't stretch the law. Don't love my ally with that name. No blazer for business casual. Just a polo is good.
Those are my keys to the game. Hot to go, cabin pressure, dead end. Did they make sense? Was that coherent?
Oh yeah, these were not the inane ramblings of a drunk man.
Got him. Maybe I'm drunk right now. Who knows?
Are you the pilot from Flight?
Did you drink that? Yes. I'm drunk right now.
Right now.
Denzel Washington. What a moment. That's a great moment in cinema history. All right, back with our picks. I've closed the gap on Josh. Can I do it more this weekend? There were 4 obvious games that we were going to pick nationwide this weekend. And then there was one where it was just tough to fill the spot. So who will make an appearance on this list that doesn't usually make an appearance on this list? Find out next on 1620 The Zone.
Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
All right, alert. The new meme is out. The new meme has dropped.
Wake up, babe. New Happer meme just dropped.
Everyone knows that the best memes need to be explained in great detail.
That's right. And you've done that for the audience.
Of course. It's out there at Connor Happer on X. Birds on my timeline call it Twitter. That's Skrilla. All right, let's go. Here we go. Picks. I gotta pull up my picks spreadsheet. Josh,
Connor,
last week you were a very poor, very nasty 2-4. Very nasty. You won on K-State and Alabama, lost on LSU, Oregon State, and Colorado State, and Nebraska. We got screwed on Nebraska. We both got screwed on Nebraska last week because they won handily and it was never really a game. But the number that we bet it, quote unquote, was at 32.5. Nebraska got it done by 31 last week. So losers on that. I was a 4-2. So I flipped it on you. So I gained 2. And that leads our season standings to be Josh Hodson leading the way at 9-9. 9-9, which is a very bad mark for you, Josh. It's not a very Josh Hodson mark.
It's less than where we want to be.
Connor Happer, 7-11 so far this year. Just 2 games behind. And we're off into the week. Number 11, USC. Is a 5.5-point favorite at number 18, Michigan, in the Big House in a helmet game. This game is a Big Ten conference game.
People forget.
That will be on CBS.
Yeah.
At 2:30.
It'll
Josh,
also be on 1620 The Zone.
And it'll be on 1620 The Zone. Josh, you are the leader. You get to pick first.
New quarterback for Michigan, the Orgy Man. There's an orgy at the Big House this weekend. This is my buy it up special. US.
Oh, you do this every week.
And I'm 2 for 2 in the buy it up specials.
You are 2 for 2 in the buy it up specials. Thank you, Hawk Tua girl.
Turn $1 into $1,000. USC minus 5.5. You can bump that up a couple points if you're comfortable.
I am uncomfortable.
Don't let the Orgy Man cloud your judgment. Michigan is terrible.
Michigan has had to have a come to Jesus moment this week. They have had to admit that they are not what they once were. And by once, I mean last year. Mm-hmm. And they've had to admit that, first of all, their quarterback was bad, but they wanted to be what they wanted to do what they were doing with JJ last year, which was run it and then go play action and throw it off of that. And turns out their quarterback threw 6 interceptions through 3 weeks and it wasn't that good. So now I think their pride has moved out a little bit, and Alex Orji is going to run. The extra dynamic in the quarterback run game will be interesting to watch. Can he complete enough throws for Michigan to have a coherent offense? My answer is still no, but I'm not as convinced as you are that this is a USC cover. I'll take it, but I don't think this is a route. Give me USC minus 5.5.
Okay.
Our second game this week, we're going to go in chronological order. This was one where I was kind of searching. Where's this game going to come from? Let's go to Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, Virginia.
Lane?
On the ACC network at 2:30 tomorrow. You'll have my Rutgers.
That's right.
Going on the road to Virginia Tech, who's a 3.5-point favorite. I'll go first. I think you know which way this is going. I'm getting 3.5 points for the Rutgers. Sign me up.
Rutgers is 4th in the country in rushing.
Yes.
They're 9th in the country in points. I know.
They have one dimension.
I know
but they've been very good at that dimension.
They have not played anyone, even remotely good.
No. Agreed.
But those numbers were very. I was
Remember
blind.
when Virginia Tech lost to Garbage Can U in week 1?
Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Diego Pavia, their quarterback.
Yes.
Give me Rutgers here. Those numbers were pretty blinding. And also, quite frankly, I knew Connor would take Rutgers, so I will.
Oh, you're just trying to
play the game. Play the game.
I guess. Let's go to game number 3. Now, what is the status on Mr. Cam Rising? Will he play?
Will he check himself into an old folks home?
Pete Thamel said yesterday in not a Pete tweet, but actually on ESPN on the, actually this was on the College Game Day podcast.
Yeah, they don't talk college football on ESPN. What are you talking about?
He will go. Now this line has shifted drastically.
Yeah, this is not the line that I had when I was doing research for the game.
Number 12. Well, when did you do this?
While you were talking to
you've done this during the show.
Sipple or BC, yeah.
So has it flipped back?
ESPN bet, I know it's not the sports book we use, had it at Okie State -1.
So this was originally a Utah State by a field goal favorite. Utah by a field goal favorite. Now we have done it this week, or we have done it all year, where we lock in the lines when I put the games on the sheet of paper.
Mm-hmm.
We'll stick with it. All right.
Yeah.
So it was originally Utah by a field goal. Number 12 Utah at number 14 Oklahoma State. 3 o'clock tomorrow on Fox. Then it flipped completely with the Rising stuff. Now it seems like he's going to play. We locked it in this morning at Cowboys by 2.5. This game is in Stillwater. It is now on the FanDuel Sportsbook back to Utah minus a 1.5 after the Cam Rising news that he is playing. The rules are the rules, Josh.
Rules are the rules.
Rules are the rules.
Connor, just before you know, just before you bet, just know
Listen to the Hawk to a girl.
Well, yeah, obviously the 2 quarterbacks in this game are older than both of the quarterbacks starting in the Colts-Bears game this weekend.
Nice. They're like a combined 50 years old, aren't they?
49.
Nice.
Yes. Give me Utah plus 2.5. It feels like cheating.
Yeah.
But I'm taking it.
Yeah, it's free points. I'm going to take them as well. Give me Utah. I probably would have picked them without Cam Rising, to be honest. So there's that. To the pig. A lot of talk about a hippo this week. This one's about another guy. It's about a pig. Utah.
Oh, that hippo is going to be on this broadcast.
He will.
For sure.
He will. Iowa is a 2.5-point favorite at Minnesota for the Floyd of Rosedale, 6:30 tomorrow on NBC. Josh, I just feel like I'm chalking on this one, but I just trust Iowa more in these games. They've kind of owned Minnesota. I know that Iowa's been a little rocky this year. They've been a little turnover-y and a little shaky on offense. But give me the Hawks to cover the 2.5 on the road at Minnesota. I actually think this is kind of comfortable. There's some late run on Minnesota here. Like I think this is probably like 27-14 or something like that.
Minnesota, yeah, they got back-to-back shutouts, but it's against Crap State and Crap Tech.
Nice. Roasted.
Apologies to Rhode Island. But this feels pretty comfortably Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what the over-under is. Maybe the 1st to 17 wins this game, but
we've seen lower. I'll say that. It is currently on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Not available.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Okay.
Well, unless I'm on the wrong. Give me a second.
What do they know?
35.5.
Okay. Which 1st to 17 would be
that would add up
close,
pretty well.
Yeah.
We're both on Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
We're both on the same for everything so far.
Yep.
Great.
Terrible segment.
Number 6 Tennessee is a 6.5-point favorite at number 15 Oklahoma. First game in the SEC for the Sooners, 6:30 on ABC. Josh, low-hanging fruit, it feels like again. I think Tennessee goes blast off on this thing. Like I think this is, if I had a buy me up special, this would be it. I think Tennessee wins this. Like the score floating around in my head loosely is like 48-14 or something like that. Like this is, I think Tennessee rolls.
Two schools, both alike in dignity, have been engaged in a Cold War for multiple decades now. They finally meet on Saturday. This is the Josh Heupel revenge game, and he will show no mercy in Norman on Saturday.
Let's go.
Tennessee by 6.5 at least.
Put Josh Tua on the hype speech.
That's right.
And
TikTok, mother bleeper.
Tonight, number 24, Illinois. That's right. Number 24, Illinois is at number 22, Nebraska, who's a 7.5-point favorite in the 400th consecutive sellout at Memorial Stadium on Big Fox featuring Timmy B and Devin Gardner. Josh, Nebraska wins the football game by the final score of 31-16. 16. Love a weird number.
You do love a weird number. Wish you would have went more traditional, Connor. 31-14.
All right, this is a stupid segment.
This is the worst segment ever.
This is the worst segment ever. We look forward to the worst segment ever again on Monday. Back after this with the polls, we'll tell you what to watch on 1620 The Zone. to the polls at Happer Show on the J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed, or should I say to the poll? To the singular poll. Is the robot working too hard? All of that painting and then unpainting? Does the robot do the unpainting as well of the 1890 logo on the field?
Is it the same robot or a different robot?
Either way, you got that robot working too hard. This is a yes for me.
Yeah, generally, I think the robot is working too hard.
63% say the robot is working too hard.
Sad.
That is the poll today. Josh, what are we watching tonight?
We're trying to scroll here. What's wrong with my scroller? Okay. We're watching the
great night football.
That's right. We're watching the NFL this weekend. We'll start there. First, I don't know why I start there every week.
Why would you start there? Why don't we start with tonight being a great night for football?
Tonight is a great night for football. Big Fox, 7 o'clock. Ranked on ranked, 400th consecutive sellout. Nebraska
it's a fist fight.
Hosts Illinois. Before that, 16:20, the pregame, live at the Blur Events tailgate in Lincoln. After the game, live from the Bottoms in Lincoln, John Bishop.
Choo-choo, baby.
Josh Peterson, big red overreaction. And then there's more college football. Tonight even, Stanford, an ACC battle. Syracuse hosts Stanford.
Stupid.
6:30, ESPN. College game day in Norman tomorrow for Tennessee, Oklahoma. Your guest picker is Blake Shelton. Sure.
This has got pain written all over it.
Yeah, you're going to have a bad time, Oklahoma. Josh Heupel dared disagree with Bob Stoops one time, and now you're going to get wrecked. Big noon kickoff in Columbus for Marshall, Ohio State.
Hello.
Ooh. UCLA at number 16 LSU, ABC 2:30 tomorrow. Baylor, Colorado, Big Fox, 7 o'clock tomorrow night. And then we transition to the NFL. We here locally, we get Texans, Vikings at noon on CBS. That's a good game. Packers, Titans, noon Sunday on Big Fox. That's not a good game, but you can listen to it on 1620.
There is some interest around here in the Packers.
Yeah, definitely. Ravens, Cowboys, 3 o'clock, Big Fox Sunday. And then, of course, your Sunday night game. Chiefs, Falcons on NBC. You can hear Mitch Holtis's call on 1290. You can hear Westwood One's call of the game right here on 1620.
The Chiefs against the Falcons. Well, you're going to have to deal with the Chiefs against the Falcons.
It'll be everywhere. White Sox Padres, your MLB TV free game of the day tonight at 8:40. Apple has Tigers Orioles, Connor, 6 o'clock tonight.
I hope both teams. Big Meteor. This is a Big Meteor game for me, actually. Yes, this is a classic Big Meteor for me.
Big series this weekend in the NL East. Phillies at the Mets, 6 o'clock tonight on Apple, 6 o'clock Sunday on ESPN. And then WNBA playoffs get started on Sunday, Connor. Yeah.
And get to that.
Well, there will be plenty of reaction after her first playoff game.
Yeah.
New York hosts Atlanta. Noon Sunday on ESPN, Caitlin Clark takes on the Connecticut Sun, 2 o'clock Sunday on ABC. Phoenix, Minnesota, 4 o'clock on ESPN. And then 9 o'clock Sunday, ESPN Seattle at Las Vegas. Big volleyball weekend ahead of us as well. Nebraska at Louisville. Two top 5 teams hooking up 11:30 a.m. Sunday on ABC.
Yeah, that's a network. You can get that with antennas.
Rabbit ears. And big volleyball weekend for Creighton as well. They're in Lawrence for the Jayhawk Classic. They take on number 6 Purdue tonight on ESPN Plus at 6 o'clock. They take on number 10 Kansas. Did you know this?
Yes, I did. Jays.
3 o'clock tomorrow on ESPN Plus. Again, I didn't know Kansas was 10th.
They're good.
It's
in Lawrence.
Okay.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Connor.
That's what we're watching this weekend. That is the show. If you missed anything, you can find it all on our website, 1620thezone.com. We will meet with the gentlemen who have perched themselves under a bridge next on the crossover on 1620 The Zone.